see some off the pod here. Enjoy some great alerts. We'll have a grand old time here watching Epic Realms tonight. We love it when we come here. We clip all of the screens. The chat gets kind of trolly on Epic Realms scenes. But that's an awesome part of the Epic family. So let's enjoy the show now and start another hype train. We'll see the spicy chips fly on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, epicational. This is what we call the Epic Show.
Hello, friends and enemies, heroes and villains. Welcome to Epic Realms Presents Off the Pod. It's not a podcast, sort of podcast. It's kind of a podcast, but it's not a podcast.
Definitely
sort
a
of
podcast.
Definitely not a podcast sort of show.
It's
So
definitely
welcome
a
on in,
podcast.
everybody. Thank you for being here. That's the intro of the. That's how the intro of the show goes. That's how it goes. That's the thing. That's what it's all about. Or today might be called Epic Realms Presents Ripley's Believe It or Not, the Blind GM has never been on this show. So,
It's just not true. I mean,
you haven't been on Off the Pod. You have not been on
I
Off the
have
Pod. You have
not?
not had one episode of Off the Pod yet since I've started this,
So I got that going on.
you're right. I don't think I have.
which is
Which is
nice.
nice.
Which is nice. So, welcome on in, everybody. If you don't know the premise of this show, we cover a topic. We cover that topic for 20 minutes. It's interactive. We talk with you. The sound alerts are live. All of our sounds are live. If we get rated, if we have hype trains, if we have anything, Blind GM can hear it in real time, along with me, of course, with you guys. And yeah, so for those that don't know, every time we do a hype train, every completed level of hype train, I have a spicy ghost pepper chip. Adam's going to do something as well for every level of the hype train that we complete as well. So you'll have to, see if we get it, see if we get there. With that being said, guys, we have some amazing topics tonight. And some of our topics are going to be including handling toxicity in nerd spaces. We're going to talk about cozy RPG campaigns and why they're neat. I tried to say it the way
And why they're neat.
and why they're neat.
And
We're going
why
to talk
they're
about
neat.
we're going to talk about how do you write a good Superman story and why Adam isn't going to be the one to write it. Or just writing a good Superman story. And of course, a potluck where it's anything goes, whatever we talk about. You guys can chat along with us. We'll do our best to keep up with chat. When a topic is done, we will catch up with chat and hang out and chat a little bit. So yeah. So that's the thing. That's the thing. With that being said, let me introduce the one, the only, the Blind GM. Hello, Blind GM. How are you doing? And why the fuck are you wearing a mask?
So I shaved my beard. And the last time I shaved my beard, it's been since my oldest child. I think I shaved my beard when he was about 1. So it's been about 13 years, give or take, since I've shaved my beard. So the number of people that have seen me beardless is, well, the number of people that have seen me beardless is not a great number. You are one of them.
Yes.
Although it has,
And it was,
been
but
a
it was
long
before
time.
that. It was before that. It was when, since we
Yeah, it was-
lived together,
It was when we lived together. Yeah,
when we were way back
I
when.
had a job that required me to shave my beard. So Nick got to see when I was a wee whippersnapper. But yeah, so I shaved my beard and I'm wearing a mask because I don't love how I look without it, but I'm vain, but I'm not super vain. I'm gonna do a face reveal at some point. I'm gonna show this off, and part of the qualifications of that is I'm trying to fundraise a friend of mine. It's been her dream to go to Gen Con since she was quite little, and she wants to go. And so we're fundraising some money to do that with an Indiegogo. And if we fund, I will do a full-blown face reveal. I am actively growing my beard out right now, so I've already recorded the face reveal video. So that's already.
Wait,
in
so
the
you're
can.
not going to
just
do it
needs
and
to be
reveal it at all
released.
today?
No, not at all.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope. Tell you what. I will do this. I will do a.
And here's the best part, guys. So there was a bet. Let's throw Adam underneath the bus now. Because he was like, oh, I'll take it off eventually on the show. And now he's like, nope, not going to take it off. So
I never said I was going to take it off during the show. Not once did I say that. You assumed that. I didn't.
I mean, I've got it right here. I've got it right here. Let's see here. What did you say? Oh, I guess I misread it. I'm going to do a face reveal. I thought you meant you were going to do a face reveal during the show.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, this
If
is
we hit a
short.
hype train, if we hit a hype train level 4, I'll take off the mask.
So, with all of that being said, guys, the throwing the atom under the bus story is we made a bet some time ago. Do I remember exactly what it was? No, but the bet was that if I won, I got to shave Adam's face publicly for I don't remember what it was. If it was I don't know if it was a Facebook video or it was before either of us were streaming. And
Yeah, it was. I think it was even it might have been for Insta, but
at any rate, and I won the bet. And guess who reneged on the deal? I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm never going to do it. I'm never shaving my face for the rest of my life. It's never going to happen. And now he won't even come on the show with it off. And he didn't even let me be the one to shave it. He didn't even let me be the one to shave it.
Okay, but there's a reason why that happened.
Why you reneged on the deal?
There's a reason why. No, there's a reason why you didn't get to shave my face. It's because it's my stupid cats.
Don't blame your cats. Don't blame your cats.
I will 100% blame my cats.
Do not blame your cats.
Titan came in with an elbow headbutt at the worst possible time with the beard trimmer.
Yeah.
It's
so there we go, guys.
And it's yeah, that's the whole thing.
We're gonna put this on the record as worst off the pod ever already.
Already? That was quick. All right.
So if you can, guys, I smell. Yeah. Tonight's gonna be a night of me throwing Adam underneath the bus all night long. But going fun to that Indiegogo. There it is. Go and fund that Indiegogo. Help a person out. Help a person out. So we're going to continue this visual medium show without faces, or at least half of us, and which was agreed to a long time ago. I'm not salty or anything, but
yeah, there was also some ADHD impulsivity issues at work there too, but that's a whole other story. So let's launch into this, shall we?
Yeah. So the first topic is handling toxicity in nerd spaces. And this is kind of your
Yes.
topic. So what do you consider nerd spaces first and foremost? Because that's a wide, broad
Well,
spectrum.
that is a very wide, broad spectrum. So this actually comes from, I did put out a sort of cattle call like for topics for tonight on my TikTok, and I didn't get a lot of responses because I think people just, they like to hear us talk. They don't necessarily care what we talk about. But this was one that actually came up that I thought was interesting. And I think the specific question was more akin to like in the TTRPG space specifically, like how do we handle and deal with and acknowledge the toxicity without being toxic ourselves. But I wanted to broaden it out because fandom in general can be a very toxic social space, depending on the people that you run with, the social circles that you run with, and like how that can be handled in a way that because you can't just go around randomly kicking people's you can but you shouldn't run around kicking people's asses just because they're dicks. Um you may want to, but it is highly advised against. So I thought it would be an interesting conversation for you and I to have, just because we always have interesting conversations about if we encounter that in a particular space, like at a con, or like our group of friends is really, really good about rooting that shit out. And we're very lucky that we have some generally very good players at the table, very non-toxic players at the table. And when there is toxicity, generally, not always, but generally we can have a conversation about it and we work it out. And that's a very
Amongst our group, like half the time we don't realize we're even that it's coming across as that. Like somebody will get offended
Right.
and then you won't know about it till like 6 years later. It's like, wait, what? What happened?
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
what? You did what? He did what? They did what? What happened?
I did what in the where now? Why did that? Okay, sorry. And
Yeah,
it's
didn't
almost
know.
never. Yeah, it's almost never there's almost never malice assigned to it. And
Right.
I think we are getting better about calling it out when it needs to be called out. Not all of the time, but I think more of the time than we certainly used to. Um, and I think you and I have kind of lucked out there. But like, you and I have both been to cons where we've had, there's a difference between like frustrating behavior and actual like toxic behavior.
Right. Right.
Um, and
And
that's I
there's
think the
also
difference.
where does the line go of do they know, right?
Right, right. I mean, obviously, if there's blatant problematicness, like if somebody's being blatantly sexist or racist, like it doesn't matter if they don't know that's something that needs to
Yeah.
be called
Right.
out.
Right.
But if it's something that's a little bit more sort of internalized or part of just a bigger systemic existing problem, like what point do you draw the line and say, okay, this person needs to hear this? I don't necessarily know if they need to hear it from me, but somebody's got to say something. So,
Right.
um, I guess for me, it really comes down to I'm words. For me, what it comes down to is it making the other people at the table uncomfortable? I
Right.
try to read the room as best I can. I try to like, and if everybody is still having a good time, like I'm pretty good at reading people, despite being a very blind person. Pretty good at reading people's moods and pretty good at reading if somebody is deeply uncomfortable. And if it's somebody who's being very deeply uncomfortable, depending on sort of the egregiousness of the person causing the problem, I will either sort of head it off at the pass and kind of act as a buffer for that person that is feeling uncomfortable, or I may take that other person aside. I had absolutely done this at Con of the North and just said, hey, you're making so and so, it looks to me like you're making so and so very uncomfortable. Can we maybe pull back on this? And I'll be honest, 90% of those conversations that I've had uh, have been very well like, oh shit, I didn't mean to, like, I wasn't my intent. I
Right.
wasn't intending to be a jerk about it. The remaining 10% were a little bit more terse, but I'm a big scary guy, so people tend not to give me a lot of guff. So I can be a big scary guy if I want to be. I should be very clear on that. I'm a big teddy bear. Let's be fair.
He does. All the boys think so.
It's true.
And that's
It's true.
not
How about
even
you? How would you handle a situation like that?
pretty much like that. You pull them aside, separate from the group. And there's so many different levels of what is toxic and what isn't. It depends
Yeah.
on, because here's the thing. We talked earlier. Sometimes somebody is being toxic and they don't know about it. But that
Mhm.
also goes to the thing of some people view what's toxic differently than other people. So, somebody who's at a gaming table and they're constantly um, distracting the entire table and, you know, pulling up YouTube videos and sharing things and, that's not their turn, so they don't fucking care, that kind of stuff. Some people view that as being toxic, whereas other people, like, that's not toxic. Being a racist asshat is being toxic. Being a transphobic asshat is being toxic. And, making fun of somebody for, whatever ailments they may or may not have is being toxic. So it's just depending on, I think it's going to have to be dependent on the situation, depending on
Sure.
the people that are there. Um, and yeah, you have to read the room. So, and of course, nerd spaces vary. If you're at a wrestling event and people are being toxic, you know, that's a whole different thing than being at a board game and people are being toxic, which is different than, being at a Star Wars convention and people being toxic. Like, in the nerd
Yeah,
sphere,
there's
a lot of
there's a lot
different.
of layers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. Well, and what we're talking about there is like very different. Like there's very different social contracts that you kind of adhere to at these different events. Like at a gaming table, it's one very specific kind of social contract that you're sort of tacitly agreeing to by being in that space. Same for like going to a wrestling match or something like that. It's a different social dynamic in that kind of a space than it would be with a gaming table. So like if somebody's being toxic 3 rows down at a at a WWE event, I'm not going to go down there and have a conversation with that person. That is not my job. That is not my function.
Right.
That is not why I am there.
Right.
But if it's at a gaming table, I might. If somebody's being kind of creepy and toxic at a Star Wars convention and like not adhering to the, please ask before you take pictures or whatever, like I would go have a conversation with that person, provided that the cosplayer wasn't already having a conversation with that person. Or I might
Right.
go up to the cosplayer and say, hey, I've noticed this behavior coming from this sphere. Do you want to handle it, or would you like me to go have a conversation with them? And
Right.
that like that there's different things that you do in different social situations. Now you and I have the privilege of being all male, kind of scary if we want to be. Like we have the position of privilege where we can use our position of privilege for good.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to be able to or even willing to step in these situations. But these are specifically, I'm answering the question from my own perspective.
Yeah.
So.
If you are having a situation, so we're talking about, okay, here's a place of toxicity, and almost every time people are like, oh, I didn't even know. Like we've talked about that. I didn't know. It was an accident. My bad. I will try harder. But you are going to come across those people that don't give two shits, and they're doing it intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
You
run into trolls.
You run into trolls, and they're doing it intentionally, and they're like, yeah, let's, they're like, you want to fight about it, those kind of people. It's like, well, I don't want to fight about it. Like I can and I will, and you'll probably lose, but I don't want to go there, right?
Yeah.
Because there's, things like lawsuits that can become involved. It doesn't matter how trolly they were. It doesn't matter what they were doing. If you knock them the F out, if you choke them out, if you, whatever the case may be, you're at fault, right? So how do you de-escalate somebody who doesn't give two shits and will just tell you to F right off?
That is a very good question. You and I are both very good at talking to people and just de-escalating the situation, but you are correct. There are going to be people out there who are just in there to cause a problem, who are going to be the full-on trolls. I'll tell you right now, I will fully narc on a bitch.
Yeah.
Most of these places have security or have somebody who's an authority figure. I don't have an issue going and tattling. I don't give a fuck. If they're causing a problem and I can't knock a bitch out, then I'm going to go ahead and have a conversation with somebody who can do something about it.
Right. Yeah. Elbow smash to the jaw teaches everyone manners. Yeah. I mean, but then those people are like,
yes,
I'm going to press charges.
See, and that's just it. Like if that were true, I think we would have a very different social dynamic in this country or in this world that we have right now. But that's the thing. If you elbow smash somebody in the face, you are now the bad guy and that you're the villain in their story now.
Right.
They're not going to learn shit from you hitting them in the face with an elbow. They're going to know that you victimized their fun.
Right.
And so that doesn't teach them anything. As satisfying as that might be for you and maybe everybody else watching, that doesn't actually teach the lesson that you're hoping to teach. So sometimes it is necessary, but only in very rare instances and only as a very last resort.
Right. So my thought is people who are doing it intentionally, they're, like you said, if you elbow in the like, you ruined their fun. And that's the key phrase right there. Them being trolls is what they were doing to have fun. Being an asshat, being toxic, they were doing it because they get off on being toxic. So you have to stop that response, and your response, other people's response to that person is what they're looking for. They're looking for you to get angry. They're looking for someone to get upset. They're looking to make someone cry. So when you realize it's to the point where that's what they're going for, you, instead of approaching them, you have to approach everybody else being affected after you've tried to the conversation route and just be like, hey, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get a reaction out of you. They don't want to stop. So obviously, like, yeah, if you're at a gaming table, yeah, you can be like, you're gone, kicking you off the table, whatever.
Yeah.
But on that same flip side, like, you can just have everybody just, okay, just ignore them. Just don't feed into them.
Yeah.
Don't give them what they
Don't
are
feed the
looking
trolls.
for. Don't feed the trolls. Yeah. Don't feed the trolls.
Yeah.
So you
Which
you
is
have
which is
to
also
ignore
a
them,
good
which is
policy.
hard,
I'm
but
like,
yeah.
right. Well, and it's like if they're, and that's the thing is like you have to kind of pick and choose that moment. Like if they're just being like verbally and like socially rude and abusive, like you can kind of
That was a snack.
the
We get
fuck?
snacks. If you have snacks, we get snacks.
Whew.
I didn't turn it
get
off, so
snacks.
I guess we get snacks.
Guess we'd get to do that now. All right, we're gonna do that so I can pull my mask up.
No, man. I tried. You tried, guys. You tried. You tried. An attempt was made.
Yeah, there's a very specific reason I chose that image today. um Now, if they're doing something that is actively against the rules, again, most cons have have like a safety contract already written in. So like if you buy a ticket to a con, they'll have that there. So like if they're taking pictures without permission,
Mhm.
that is actively against the rules.
Yeah.
In which case it's a safety contract and a code of conduct contract. And so if they're taking pictures without permission, actively against the rules, that's the point where like just ignoring them isn't enough. You go speak to an authority figure. I know for sure at Con of the North that would not be treated well. It would be handled very, very well. They would not be treated with any manner of real dignity. They would be removed very quickly. I know Gen Con also has some pretty strict code of conduct policies as well. So yeah.
Okay. What about when you are being or have been toxic? How do you react? Do you take, if somebody pulls you aside and says something to you, do you instantly get like, because I know the first thing I do is I get a little offensive, because I was like I've said to people, I try really hard. Like I've overcome a lot of being toxic in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I've gone to therapy. I've learned skills. I've learned what things come across as bad. But I still don't even realize it sometimes. When I think I'm being funny, I don't realize I'm not being funny. And then when it's like, because people don't recognize the change, they just recognize when you're doing something bad. So you can go like 5 years with being super awesome. You say one thing, it's like, oh, you're always a dick. It's like, no, I'm not. You know, that's my instant.
I have done all of this fucking work.
My instantaneous reaction is, I'm not. But at the same time, like, I still have to take responsibility and be like, but I did do this thing, right? And I did fuck up.
Yeah.
So.
For me, obviously my knee jerk is going to be very similar to yours. It's the very defensive. Well, fuck, I've done all this work and for what? And I guess the biggest thing for me is I try to, like, in the moment, whenever it happens, if it's live or like if I do something in like a TikTok video or something that somebody's like, hey, bro, this is not super cool. I try to hold myself accountable for it pretty immediately. You know, if somebody takes me aside and says, hey, this is a problem, I could be like, and if it's something that I can actively do anything about, I will immediately say, I'm sorry, that was not my intent. You know, if it makes a difference, I will go back and, make my apologies.
Yeah.
I will amend the behavior immediately. All of that stuff. And I will hold myself accountable pretty quickly. And then I will feel guilty about it for the next week. But that's a me problem. But it really is sometimes very difficult to hear that level of criticism, particularly when you have worked as hard as you and I both have to get to a point where the toxicity that we once engaged in as much younger people, and I don't mean that in terms of chronology, I mean that in terms of like maturity and emotional intelligence and all that stuff.
And education.
It still surfaces. And education. It still surfaces. It's still there. We're both in our 40s. We've learned over many, many long years how to behave in one very specific way. And now we're trying to undo, 30 odd years of that training.
Right.
So, we have to, I think for us, like holding ourselves immediately accountable is important.
Yes.
And I think also we need to give ourselves the space and leeway to kind of look at that incident, whatever that may look like, and say, okay, I now need to understand why what I was doing came off as problematic. And sometimes it can be very easily like, oh no, I can see where that came from. And sometimes it may take a little bit of work, but that's why we have therapy. So
Right. Yeah, for sure. We have 3 minutes left on this timer, but I'm like, I feel like we've said so many things. So I'm going to read some of the chat here. Lyric agrees,
Yeah,
not feeding the trolls, which I should have been doing anyhow. Yeah, the whole elbowing them in the face, they can easily twist that. Well, at least I didn't elbow you. It's true. Rolana Halo says, as a short female, I tend to find that being able to ignore them, occupy myself, or try to manipulate the situation to make things awkward. So when you're dealing with the trolls,
that explains a lot about some.
Or staring blankly at someone or going, okay.
Oh, that's great. I love that's a great methodology. I love that. Just completely stonewalling them is a great way to go.
Yeah, for sure. No selling it, as I like to call it. No selling.
Yep, no selling.
I love making them explain why it's funny. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. I've seen TikToks about that. Yeah, no, that one's so good. I love that.
Why is this funny? Because a lot of times people say stuff thinking something's funny, not realizing it's not, or they're trying to guise something as funny, but if they sat down and think about it, they'd realize, because I know a lot of the stuff that I've personally done or said in the past, it was a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of, because sometimes I get, somebody will do something that triggers me, and so like I feel hurt, or something from the past that happened that somebody had done that's like, well, I can't really bring up old shit, but it will trigger me because we'll just say, I'm going to use you as example. Let's use each other as examples, but not use real world examples. So we'll say Adam had done something to me in the past that upset me, and then 5-10 years later he does something similar again, and instead of just and maybe not to me, or something that reminded me of that, or something that goes to that, it's like, okay, well, I'll make a sarcastic remark about that past thing that relates to this current thing because I'm still angry about it and I have unresolved issues about that. But then you get upset at me for being an asshole. It's like, well, yes and yes, but I'm not gonna. But I have no grounds to be like, well, it's because you did this thing 6 years ago that this thing, And I thought it was kind of funny, and it was me trying to use a little bit of sarcasm and a little bit of humor to deal with my own trauma from a whatever incident. And sometimes that doesn't work. So keep in mind when stuff happens, maybe there is another background reason as well. So it does go multiple ways, and you never know what a person's going through, right?
Everybody is fighting a battle that you can't see.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why I tend not to resort immediately to smashing people in the nose with my elbow.
Yeah. Because people could have mental health issues. People could, have anxiety. People could be autistic on the spectrum and not even know it, and say something that might be socially awkward that they don't even know is wrong or could be wrong, and can't grasp a concept of something like that being wrong. We don't know.
And that's true. And that is very true. I will say this, and this is a thing this is a drum I've been beating for a while. Your mental health is not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of this, like, the behavior may be explained in a very specific way. It may be because of this, that, and the other thing. That doesn't necessarily excuse it in the moment. So de-escalating the situation, figuring out a way out of the situation in a way that everybody is satisfied, that in this particular situation is still important, is still valid. I have also said that, violence is definitely on the table, but it's like for me, it's literally if they unless they take a swing first, I'm not doing shit.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's so it is the last resort when they have already resorted to violence. That is when I resort to violence, and that is the only time.
Here we go.
And I'm a big dude, so people tend not to. So
Salty's Unicorn says, "Is it really funny, or are you just clinging on to your antiquated ideologies?" I can say words, and that's very true. Sometimes it is.
Antiquated ideologies.
That's
that's
the
a
word.
good point,
That's the word.
Salty.
You can say it.
Yep. No, that's a good point. And yeah.
The Bryce says, "Don't bring up past issues and present arguments. Not helpful, and it forces you to go backwards." I agree. Easier said than done, but I agree.
Yeah. It's still knee jerk. And here's the thing: like, again, Nick and I have both worked on this. This has not really been an issue, but at least betwixt the two of us, for a really long time.
Yeah, but in
We've
but in a
lot
couple
better,
years from
particularly
now,
with-
every time he's like, I'm wearing a mask, I'm going to come back to today.
Yep.
And he knows
Yeah,
I'm fucking with him. Maybe.
I do. He's messing with me. At any rate,
here's the thing. If it weren't for a good cause, I would legit be angry. But it's for a good cause,
Fair
and
enough.
it makes sense, and it's a fundraiser, and there's a reason he's doing it, and it's to help people out.
Yes.
So
If
that's,
it was- here's
that's
the
the
thing, if
reason
it
he
was
gets a
pure-
pass
if it
in my pocket.
If it was pure vanity, I would be angry with me.
No, you wouldn't.
I assure you, it is not.
You wouldn't show
It is
that you
for
were
this
angry.
reason. No, I wouldn't. But I would be angry with myself.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Rolana Halo says, "I had a guy come up to me asking me why I was playing a barbarian when I was wearing makeup and had my hair done, and I just deadpan stared at him." I don't even understand where that dude would have been coming from.
right? Where does that? I don't. It's the audacity for me. Like seriously.
I see no reason a barbarian can't be gorgeous while throwing hands. Yeah, look at the MMA people. Some of those MMA women, they're freaking gorgeous, and you know that they could rock some shit. Look up Jade Cargill and tell me that a barbarian can't be gorgeous and still choke you out like you're nothing.
Right.
Google search Jade Cargill. I want to make that a character. I want to use a photo of her as a character for an RPG character.
Yes.
Because as a barbarian, because she badass.
Also, I've seen some of those really long nails that are like it's not the normal kind. It's like I can't think of the name of it now. It's like a resin kind of thing. Though that shit sharp.
Right?
That cut a bitch. That's no way.
At the Blind GM, mustache mask. Oh, that would have been hilarious if you had a mask that had a little mustache on it. Or a full beard on the mask. You know what you should get? Because you can get the neck gaiters printed with your face on it. You should get one with your beard, and then when you have it up, it's
Just
with the
with my
beard, and then
beard.
without the beard. I should totally do that.
Fucking great. I love that. Oh, that's funny.
That's hilarious. It's awesome.
Oh.
People like to tell you how to play your character. I can't hand actually me.
Well, that's fair. No, I mean,
Can't
really.
handle.
I don't
Actually.
love- Yeah, I can't. I can't abide that. That bugs me when people are like, you're doing this wrong. Actually, go fuck yourself. I've been playing longer than you.
You know what?
I don't mean to gatekeep like that, but Jesus.
I actually had that happen to me at Con of the North.
Really?
Yeah. What was I playing? I
Go
made a
on.
character, and they were like, "Oh well, why didn't you do this with your bard?"
Oh, yeah.
This is the min maxer. Well, you should have done. Why didn't you do this?
Mhm.
Well, that's dumb. Why didn't you do that? I'm like, because I'm a role player that's been doing this for 30 plus years. I was so over min maxing when I was 10. I didn't say that, but hindsight, I should have said something along those
You
lines.
thought it. Look, and I'm not
Now, would that be
anybody,
me
but,
being toxic? Or
that's a little. Here's the thing: if you'd said,
can you
it would've
throw
been a little
toxicity at toxic
but-
people and have it?
it's kind of has the same energy as misgendering a trans person because you disagree with their opinions. Watching the wheels work there.
Yeah, I'm like trying to see the correlation there, and I don't see the correlation.
It's fighting fire with fire doesn't actually work, is my point. But again, it's like it's the same energy as like you've ruined my fun, therefore. Like for me, if when people actually me, it's like I will throw out there. I've been playing for a really long time. I played every iteration of everything that could possibly be. This is what seems fun to me. I'm gonna have fun.
Unless they're actualing the actual rules as written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you get a little bit of a pass, especially if I don't know. So because I'm not a fucking munchkin min-maxer, me when I'm met with this attitude.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because I'm not a fucking munchkin min-maxer. That's your response.
Yeah. But that's again, that's kind
that's
of
just
yeah. I like mine. Like, yeah, I used to do that when I was like my first or second year role playing, but I've been doing it for 30 years now. So I've been over that for 25 years.
I'm well past that point in my life.
Yeah. Don't worry. In a couple of years, you'll stop doing it too, kid. Gotta throw that kid in there. Gotta throw that kid in there.
Well, and there's a reason why I got my kids started role playing as young as they are. So, by the time they're in their 20s, they'll actually be like fully fleshed out, diverse role players.
There we go. By the way, guys, thank you for being here. Everybody that's hanging out, appreciate you. Bentley with the lurk. Hello, welcome in. I saw Emmy Kiko banning some bots. Thank you, Emmy, for being here. I hope you're doing well.
Thanks, Emmy.
Emmy Kiko. So our next topic, to switch gears, to calm us down a little bit, to chill us the F out.
A little wild.
To chill us the F out. And I'm gonna go back and see. So the topic here is cozy RPG campaigns and why they're neat.
So for Nick, when we were talking before the show, Nick was like, I really wanted to get that whole thing in there because if you have a very specific way, he's talking to me, a very specific way of using the word
neat.
Like, I mean, yeah,
that's neat.
I think it is neat, and I think that word is definitely underutilized. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely underutilized in our modern vernacular. So I'm bringing neat back, y'all.
You can't bring something back that never was to begin with.
Yeah, but people don't really use it. Anyway,
you sound like Kermit. There we go. Neat is Kermit.
Oh, that's neat.
That's not. Hey, represent, guys. Represent.
Yeah. There's no way that is an insult. Kermit is an icon,
right.
and a leader to be modeled.
Bunsen. More of a Bunsen. More of a Bunsen than a.
Oh. Should I do my
look it up a little bit. There you go. Bunsen. Look, guys, it's Bunsen. It's Bunsen. Me. Does that make me Beaker?
Clip that. Screenshot it. Yes, it does. Screenshot it. Color adjust it so it's green, and we're good.
Zion says, Nick, you didn't have to min-max once we changed gaming attributes to point by instead of rolling for them. When you're rolling all fours, there's not really min-maxing, right?
Right. We're wildly off topic at this point. Maybe do you think we should just knock it off in RPG or RP for the rest of the session?
Just sit around and role play.
I tried. I forced it. I'm sorry.
Just want to sit around and role play for a little bit.
Just want to sit around and role play for a little bit. That's fine. So what's Mr. Cactus been up to?
Bending the universes to his wills, but not really.
Campaigns.
So when you say cozy RPG campaigns and why they're neat, what do you mean by that? Like, what is a cozy RPG campaign?
Okay, so this was a concept that obviously has existed for a while, but it wasn't really given a name. But there was a book that came out a couple years ago by a guy Travis Baldry, I think his name is, called Legends and Lattes. And the whole crux of it is this retired adventurer goes to the big city to open the very first coffee shop in the city.
Okay.
And the whole book is setting up how she gets this coffee shop in a fantasy city up and running. And how there's a little bit of parody there in terms of like how she like discovers that like flaky pastries go really good with coffee, how mixing milk with coffee is very tasty, and that sort of thing. And it's just like there's stakes involved, but the stakes aren't we need to save the world. The stakes are, will my coffee shop succeed? And it's this little like, you know how when we were younger, we would often do like little slice of life games where we would just, what do you do for today? You took your characters like, all right, you get up in the morning. What is it that you do with your day? How do you start your day? Like, what's your routine? All that stuff. That is it could be a whole campaign dedicated to just that.
So the campaign isn't, it's the end of the world and you need to save it. It's sandboxing.
It's sandboxing. It's like, and you can get involved in bigger things. You can get involved in stuff going on, but like, it's just your character kind of living their day-to-day life in a fantasy setting, and really kind of getting into that world building and to some degree lore of the location where you're at. I have found I've run one so far. Actually, it's one. It's called Beasts and Sweets. It's over on my YouTube channel. You can watch the first. I think 8 episodes are up right now. 8 of 10.
Okay.
Um, and the whole premise of it is just a group of individuals who are in Sharn and just kind of living their lives, and their stakes. I mean, but they're not like earth-shattering, world-ending stakes. It's much less low key, or it's much more low key, but it's so much fun, and it's so like it's escapism, but it's escapism where you're not like worried that your character is going to die, or you don't necessarily have to worry about like whether or not your attack bonus is high enough or your AC is high enough. It's much more low key. It's much more just narrative and RP intensive, and it's every time I've done one, it has been just so much fun and so wholesome and felt so good when in a time where not going to get super into it, but think the world is on fire, and that level of escapism, sometimes the life or death, or the world ending apocalypse. Oh, stopping.
It was always burning since the world's been turning. Go ahead, continue. You're welcome.
Yeah, okay, but we didn't start it. At any rate.
We should have had Billy Joel as a topic. Just Billy Joel.
We could have. There's more. There's new stuff I can say about Billy Joel now. Stuff that you don't even know that I know. You might know, but you don't know that I know. Anyway.
So the idea of the cozy RPG campaign thing, you know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you've gotten a chance to read it yet or not. The Wizard's Butler by Nathan Lowell. That book is a different beast, and it's so freaking amazing. If you guys haven't listened to it or read it or anything, it's a great book. We've had Nathan Lowell on the podcast, and that is what I feel when we talk about this. We lost you.
No, I'm still here. I'm just taking a drink. Are you trying to high five my bear paw?
Yeah, something like that. I was duplicating it. But yeah, it definitely feels like that, because it does have a cozy feel, but there are still stakes. But they're not off fighting monsters and dragons and slaying beasts and stuff like that. And there probably still is stress, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's stressful.
Maybe not Miles Thomas the fifth stress, but let's be honest. I mean, that game is kind of what you're talking about. That kind of is what that game was.
It absolutely is. Yeah. Well, so for example, like with the cozy campaign that I run on my YouTube,
cozy campaign.
Let's talk, because I have some ideas. The one that I'm running on my YouTube, I do a lot of here's what you don't see. and I'll run a little like movie style cutscene that the party is completely unaware of, but has an impact or something to do with what's going on kind of behind the scenes in the
Yeah.
world, which adds a little bit of stakes, a little bit of stress, a little bit of tension. So it does kind of drive their motivations forward a little bit, even unconsciously. Like, and so yeah, there's a little metagame element to it, but it's also specifically designed to be a metagame element to kind of like push the characters to continue to do the things that they want to be doing rather than just sitting around and smoking weed all day. Like, so yeah, and so like I've been doing a lot of that. I did a lot of that in there. It's a really fun campaign. It's with a trio of other D&D TikTokers, RPG Mom, Natalie New, and Stigicorn. And they're just amazing role players. Like they're so good and they're so into it. And like RPG Mom is a full chaos gremlin, but just the most lovable, wholesome person ever. It's so much fun. And
Yeah.
that's why they're neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Why they're neat. Why they're
That's
neat.
why they're neat.
So is there a system that you think works better for that? You know, because you're probably
So
not going to do dread for making coffee. And how do you and
when you
and
really
and then I have and I'm going to give you the secondary follow-up
Yeah.
question so I don't
So
forget.
yes.
The secondary follow-up question is how do you make it, because nobody wants to role play doing work, right? Nobody wants to be like,
Right.
I work 9 to 5. I don't want to role play, doing work. That's why so many people are like, I don't want to come out of my yard of gardening and get on my computer to play Farmville,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So those are the two
That's
questions. I already forgot what
I
the
just
first one was. So
well, you know what
yeah,
system would be
yeah,
ideal for something like this? And you pitched Dread as being a bad one, and you're not wrong. I mean, I can see a world where you knock the tower over and the espresso machine explodes, but like that's about what you're dealing with at that point. I mean we're using 5e, but I'm using a really like truncated, like low, like I'm not going super rules as written. There's a lot of homebrew stuff. I think a GM that has a very good working knowledge of most systems can make this work. So like your original RPG that you played was GURPS. I can see a world where GURPS would be functional for this kind of thing. I can
yeah,
see, World of Darkness would be too, although World of Darkness would be a lot crunchier in this resolve, in this aspect, because you'd be rolling pools of dice, which is a lot of dice rolling. Whereas with like a D20 system, you're just rolling 1d20, or like a percentile system, you're
yeah.
just rolling, a D100.
Roll 5
Um,
die 10 to see if you get that coffee with a little heart swirly on the top.
Well, and like that's the thing. Like that could be the stakes that we're dealing with too. Like, can you do the foam art? You roll and it's like, I really want to do foam art well for this person because like the person that came up to the thing is like super hot and I want to flirt with them. So I want to get the foam art just right on this thing. And so like, all right, go ahead and roll your thing. And like with World of Darkness, all right, you're rolling 5 die 10. How many successes do you get? And that feels so clunky. Whereas with like a D20 system or a percentile system, you're just rolling 1 or 2 dice and there's an immediate like, oh, I rolled a 3, that sucks. Or oh, I rolled a 17. That's great. Like
Yeah,
there's sort of that immediacy of the thing, and it kind of keeps things moving along. So I would say any system that allows you to have an almost immediate knowledge of whether or not you've succeeded or failed based on a single die roll
yeah,
is probably going to be your best bet, because that just kind of keeps things smooth and rolling.
yeah.
And then the stakes, I mean, you don't want to do work the role playing game, right? Like you don't want to go to like my character goes to the office and I start doing project reports, and you don't want to do that. Like
They tell me to take my
if your
tapler.
character does that,
My tapler.
right. Well, I mean, you could play just Office Space the RPG, and that would be a whole other thing entirely. um, that would be fucking great, though. But like, you can gloss over that. You say you go to work, you start going to work. You start doing your work. We fast forward to lunchtime, and we do a little scene at lunchtime where you're, chatting up the hot barista, or you're flirting with one of your coworkers, or something to that effect. And like, you can sort of add in that level of drama. Like for the Legends and Lattes thing, like there is there is stakes in it as much as like how she's using magic to make the thing successful, but she's trying to keep the magic on the DL because there are other people looking for this magic and they're going to try to take it from her and make it their own. And so she's trying to like run that line between I want to be successful and use the magic that I have to be successful, but I don't want to be so successful that it's super obvious that I have this magic. And so there's a lot like that's the kind of stakes that you're working with there. And I think there's a lot of play in there that you can kind of you can use to create
I,
the sense of sort of like stakes, but also cozy.
I think the chat has just unanimously said that they want a Office Space one shot.
Well, am I coming back on to run an Office Space one shot at some?
That's up to you if you think you can pull that off. Zine says Call of Cthulhu would work well for a slice of life type game.
Oh, 100%. 100% Call of Cthulhu would work well for that. Again, it's that one or two dice where you have the almost immediate knowledge of I probably succeeded or I didn't succeed.
Right.
Like, that I think is critical to that. Kids on Brooms.
Yeah, somebody said something about magic kitties. Magical kitties is cozy. Yeah. Kids on bikes.
Magical kitties.
Kids on bikes is what somebody else said.
Yeah, Kids on Bikes is fundamentally it, the role-playing game, but you can also scale it back from it.
Okay.
It's a system I know very little about, and I would like to get to know because I've seen it played a number of times. It looks like a lot of fun. And then Kids on Brooms is their sort of like
fantasy
Harry
version.
Potter minus. Yeah, it's their Harry Potter minus the turfdom in the fantasy version, urban fantasy version. So yeah. So like any of those would be great. Probably Powered by the Apocalypse. But hot take, I don't like Powered by the Apocalypse as a system. I just don't.
I don't even know the system. There we go. There's that. Now we need to build the red stapler as a magic item.
I'm sorry, the red stapler is not. I'm going to say this: the red stapler is not a magic item. It is a MacGuffin. It has no value other than it is desired by a person that is willing to burn a bitch down to get it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna need those TPS reports.
God, what
you'd have to have like a flaw. You'd have to have like a character flaw that is your character, like that thing is your, because if you look, is your concept. Because if you look at him, it's like, you know, the main character, he just doesn't give two shits about anything. He's just like, I just don't care. Right. And then you've got the boss, you know, because they all have one trait, and that is their core trait from beginning to end. It doesn't change, it doesn't anything. And that is the trait that they all have throughout the entirety of that show.
Absolutely.
So, you know, the one guy that just doesn't, like, he wants to be there, but he's just, nobody even realizes he really exists. Does he work there? Does he not work there? He keeps coming to work. He doesn't really know what's going on, you know. So they've all got that some sort of thing about them that makes for that dynamic interaction.
Just for a deeper level of world building, I'd want to sort of do like an Office Space and The Office sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Because I always thought those two like obviously they're very different entities. One's a movie, one's a television show, like, and they're very different vibes. But I also felt like there would be a world where those two worlds sort of existed in the same universe.
You know, if this were something that we did on stream and not offline, there could be a channel point redemption where people could redeem. Let's get a deeper look at that character's thoughts or something like that. And then like mid game, as soon as it redeems, we have to cut to the behind the scenes where they're talking to the camera.
Oh my God. Doing a talking head moment right there. Oh my God. That's amazing.
But from a channel point redeem. So the audience has to like, you know, they're doing something. It's like, let's see what's going on. You know, the player isn't going to have a clue until it goes up and be like,
Well, and I feel like if I were to do it offline, I wouldn't, because that would be rude to the chat. But if I were to do it offline, or even maybe if we did it this way, if you roll either a critical success or a critical failure, you also have to do a talking head. It's like okay, now you've rolled a nat 20. What are your thoughts? Address the camera directly and tell everybody what you're thinking.
Yeah.
This could get weird.
And then the question is there's so many, because just in chat alone right now, there are so many people that would want to be in. Like, how would you pick? How would you pick who would be in that cozy RPG, Office Space, The Office, 9 to 5, Dolly Parton? Somebody said Dolly Parton 9 to 5. Type working 9 to 5. How would you pick amongst the, like, because you can't make it too big. You probably couldn't go more than like 4 players for something like that.
I would not want to go more than 4. For a cozy campaign, like 3 or 4 is kind of the sweet spot. That's a good question. I mean, again, if it were something that we did on stream, I don't know. I feel like it would have to be people that I at least have some kind of rapport with, right?
Yeah.
Like, it would have to be people that I at least know, at the very least, from a parasocial like standpoint. So like, we know each other through your stream or through TikTok or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think on that. That seems like a.
And then you have to
Seems like it
figure
would
out
be an
which
interesting
system to
challenge.
use and like how you would differentiate what your character's personality to make them that over the top, whatever. Although
Right.
I got to be honest, like I've never watched a full episode of The Office, but I have watched damn near every clip of interaction between Dwight and I don't know the character's name, but it's Krasinski's character.
Jim Halpert, yeah.
Their interactions, like I cannot. Anytime it pops up on any social media, I'm like, I gotta watch these two.
I am
do
so
shit with each
fucking
other.
there. Absolutely. No, agreed. I like Steve Carell in serious roles, but his comedy, the secondhand embarrassment, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
Him and Will Ferrell, I just like, they're great actors, they're great performers, but secondhand embarrassment is too much for me.
That's why I'm not a big fan of Ben Stiller.
Yeah, him too. He's another one. Again, in a serious role, he's great.
But
as
now,
a comedic actor.
Wait. I do have a little caveat, a little parentheses, a exception, if you will, to the Ben Stiller roles. Because Ben Stiller, the reason I don't like a lot of his shit is because he's always this good guy that shit always happens to him, that's stupid, bad, or embarrassing, that he didn't deserve. Right? And so you just spend the whole episode feeling bad for the dude. Because he's like he did nothing to his fault. But it's, a lot of people find that funny. Now, I don't like that. Except if he's the bad guy.
True.
Because when you watch Dodgeball, he's the bad guy, and
all
that same stuff happens to him. But that's what makes it great, because he fucking deserves it, and he's supposed to look like an idiot.
The only other thing that I would say, where he's not necessarily the bad guy, and it is a comedic movie, is Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder, yeah.
Oh,
but he kind of played that. He was the kind of serious straight man in that role, though.
He was very much the straight man. Well, here's the thing, and it's true in Mystery Men too. He wasn't the comedic character; he was the straight man in both Mystery Men and Tropic Thunder, and those are the two exceptions to my I don't like him in comedic roles rule. So right. I guess that kind of points, that kind of illustrates that.
Which is probably why, in those Ben Stiller movies that neither of us really like, that like Robert De Niro is great because he's the straight man in those, and he's the one that's funniest.
Easily, Meet the Fockers. The best part of that movie was Robert De Niro.
Yeah, it was the only good part of that movie.
The only redeemable, and I didn't see the second one because the first one just made me so damn uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. Maybe some people just like to feel uncomfortable. Like people like to get scared. Maybe that's a thing. People like to go to scary shows to get scared. Other people like to go to movies to feel real life uncomfortableness.
Yeah, maybe. I feel uncomfortable enough in my real life that I don't feel like I need to simulate it with a movie.
Right, right, for sure. So let's
Socially
rewind. We get back.
awkward.
Was it about cozy RPG campaigns?
Cozy RGB. Well, I mean, still kind of goes along with this though. Like, the stakes in
I
Tropic
do
Thunder
like.
were
I do
pretty
not
high,
like Night
but
at the Museum. I did like Night at the Museum.
oh, that's true. That was a pretty good. I mean, also just the pure involvement of Robin Williams as Teddy Roosevelt just made my heart happy.
I like the overall
Um,
story of it. You know,
it is. It's very good. Um, anyway, oh, Night at the Museum. Perfect example of a cozy campaign.
would that be a that would probably have to be like a one-on-one cozy campaign.
Right. That would have to be a very like at most two people. Like maybe you're the dad and the kid or
Right,
something like that. Like
right,
you could do something like that. But like that is a perfect example of a cozy campaign because like the stakes are high, but they're not like the world ends if we fail.
right.
And like the there's a lot of wholesome moments in there. There's a lot of slapstick moments in there. There's a lot of, just fun moments in there. That Night in the Museum is like a perfect example of a cozy campaign. Um, but yeah, so cozy campaigns and why they're neat. That's why they're neat. It's just in a world where everything is
In a world.
slowly turning to dust. In a world where everything is slowly turning into dust, one blind GM trying to turn it all around by making everything neat. You
So
know
if
what? I
there
amuse
do you
myself, and
have
that's all that's really important here.
other than what we've talked about tonight? Because here's the thing: you're a role player. I'm a role player. There's always like
Sure.
30,000 games. It's like, man, that's a game I'd really like to do sometime, which never comes to
Mhm.
fruition. In the
Oh yeah.
world of cozy campaigns, do you have one in the back of your head that you're like, this is what I'm going to do eventually? This is a cozy campaign world concept, game concept idea in the back of my mind that I've got to do sometime.
I
Or is
would
there not?
love
Have you
to.
just done them?
I mean, I've only technically won one cozy campaign at this point. I've run one game of a cozy campaign, which may or may not turn into something. I hope it will, but we'll see. I've got 1,000 ideas for other things, but for me, it's really about really sinking my teeth into the world and the lore. So I would love to take something where there is so much established lore that if I don't feel the need to overly world build. To finish my thought.
Yep.
If I don't feel like I want to overly world build, I can really sink my teeth into it. And so like the Forgotten Realms is a perfect place to do a cozy campaign. Waterdeep would be an amazing place to do a cozy campaign simply because there's so much lore and world building already built into it that you could find a map of it and like there's something about almost everything there and it's established lore and you
Why
can
is
just
the
look that
rum
up and use
always
that
gone?
and then
Because we
and
drank it.
everything that you do from there is just a very specific like this is all story. I don't have to worry about world building. I don't have to worry about lore. I can focus entirely on the characters. If they want to know more about a thing, it's there. They can just go look it up. So that's kind of my like where I'm at is I kind of want to take an established setting where there's a lot of information about the thing, submerge myself in that world, and then run just a cozy campaign within that world.
Yeah. Design says, wait, are we not getting Mordoc's adventures in mead making? I feel like a good chunk of the Mordoc Chronicles was a cozy campaign.
It kind of was, yeah. I mean, the stakes were maybe a scotch higher, but yeah, for the most part, it was
But
a pretty
some of it
cozy
wasn't. Some
campaign.
of it wasn't so much.
No, no, I mean most of it wasn't. It wasn't until we really got into the vampire thing and then the necropires that it was really like, oh
Right,
dear God, why?
right.
Um, so
Dungeon Mistress says, being
ah,
the straight man often means getting the funniest lines and bits. Arthur Dent, being a key example.
yes, absolutely,
I'm a
absolutely.
Pantera's box that you don't want to open. That's a quote. I don't know the quote.
Pantera's box or Pandora's box?
It says Pantera's box. Pantera,
Okay.
you know, I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be Pandora's box.
Pantera. I don't know. Pantera is a metal band, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Metal band from the 90s.
Blind GM, back in the day, I did try to start a mini RPG set in a shopping mall, modern day, with mythological creatures running the stores and kiosks. I had the goth vampire working at the Sunglasses Hut and the fairy pixie working at Hot Topic. That's fun.
That's great.
That is great.
Oh my god, that is so cool.
Or the vampire could be working in like the summer sunscreen section, like the camping section, wearing the sunglasses and caked in sunscreen.
Yeah. I'm here to sell the SPF 1000.
I could totally see a Chippendales Rescue Rangers sort of cozy campaign.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Chippendales Rescue Rangers is also sort of that would qualify as a cozy campaign for sure. Like it was, the crimes for the most part were real low stakes. The only time that they weren't is when they were dealing with I think there was one episode where they were dealing with a real kidnapped human child.
Right.
And but that was it. The entire run of the show, that was the most stakes that they dealt with. Not to say that, kidnapping is a light stakes, because it's not, but
and they each also had their own
that's
flaw,
as far
right?
as they went. Yeah, absolutely.
Dungeon Mistress. I'm gonna put 3 or 4 things together that happened because they were all together. So the quote that I said is a Mystery Man quote from where Mr. Furious, Ben Stiller, misquotes the line Pantera versus Pandora.
Gotcha. Okay. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Same here.
Might be worth a rewatch now, though.
Isn't there any RPG system where you play as forest animals? Yeah, there is one. There is where you play as, and I forget the name of it, but I've seen it. Yeah, I always wanted to play a campaign, where characters from like a Narnia type universe get thrust into like the D&D world, and so everybody
Sure.
pick an animal, and you are an awakened version of that animal. And I had always thought about that, but it was not a cozy campaign. It was actually like, I am the squirrel thief.
I was visiting some friends actually pretty recently in early April, and I ran a game that was basically that premise. It was every creature was an awakened animal of some variety, and I let the players pick the animal they wanted to be. And then they had to go after the MacGuffin, which was a magic item that collected all of the whimsy in the world. So as children grow up into adults, they naturally sort of lose their sense of whimsy, and so this artifact collects all of the whimsy as it is sloughed off, and then it is used to power spells that are inherently whimsical. So like awaken animals, inherently whimsical. Awaken plants, inherently whimsical. So somebody stole the heart of whimsy, and so a bunch of awakened animals banded together to go get it back, because if anything were to destroy it, every awakened animal would be subsequently de-awakened.
Yeah.
It was a fun little one shot. It was a good time.
Curly Girl says the Root RPG. If you've ever played the Root board game, they have an RPG system made by a different company that
Sure.
has it, and that has all animals as well. Cozy sessions can also help reset after very chaotic battles. I have a resort on the back of a giant snail run by cloud spirits, and it's all puzzles who stole the bubble bath. All the puzzles and who stole the bubble bath.
I love that.
So yeah.
Humblewood is an awakened animal. It's a 5e,
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. Was Humblewood was the one I was thinking of.
I actually have it on my shelf over there. I just haven't gotten to play it.
Another one that I think is kind of cozy. Now that you explained it and I've wrapped my head around it, and we've done it here on stream a handful of times. Raid! Let's get a shout out for the one and only the DM Wolf.
Gets to 1,000 followers.
There's some Fallout clip. Fallout?
That's a lot.
Wait. Hold on.
No.
If
Let's hear them out.
If this channel gets to 1,000 death claws, you will all be able to get rideable death claws.
We can get 1,000 death claws. I love it.
If this channel gets to 1,000 followers, you will all be able to get rideable death claws.
We're on a mission now.
Hold
Is that
on,
gonna happen before Christmas?
That'll be the
Hold on.
You'll get there. You'll get there, DM Wolf. Welcome on in, everybody from the raid. Thank you for being here. Thank you, DM Wolf, guys. If you haven't had the chance, go check out DM Wolf, tabletop role player, game master, podcaster. Has had two of the most handsome gentlemen on his show. One being the blind GM, who you can't see here today for reasons, and myself, Epic Realms. We've both been a part of his show. DM Wolf has been here, a guest on Off the Pod as well. Go and check them out. Give them some love. Give them a follow. Thank you very much for being here. How was your stream? How are things going? And welcome on in. I'm currently joined by the blind GM. We're talking all kinds of stuff today. We talked about handling toxicity in nerd spaces. We just wrapped up talking about cozy RPG campaigns and why they're neat. And you were kind of just in the middle of there. So welcome on in, guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. Also, hello there to our good friend Supernatural Writer. Supernatural Writer does workout streams and work-alongs, ride-alongs, right with me. Ride along with me. Pomodora, I think it's called. So,
Cool.
So Dungeon Mistress says A Knight's Tale would be a low-level, low-stakes adventure. I wonder if you could make the whole thing a Canterbury Tales.
Oh shit. Oh, god damn it, DMC. Now you've put me on a new hyperfixation.
Again, all characters with
Again.
very blatant, like, differences and flaws.
Flaws. Yeah. Oh my god.
Pain!
That would be
Lots
such
of
a fun-
pain!
I'll give you such a fine.
Ah. But yeah, welcome on in, guys. There would be so much material for Canterbury Tales as a cozy game, for sure. I was thinking, the Mouse Cheese Cat Cucumber game, Mechanical Corners, the Mechanical Corners RPG, where you're basically, it's a heist game. You're playing a heist, and there's not really combat in that. So that's
Yeah.
also kind of a fun one,
Yeah.
which we got to have Mark on here to do another one of those sometime, another one shot of that sometime down the road. And I'll be joining him for a new RPG as well for their show, for their stream. I'll be popping in on that. It'll be pre-recorded and uploaded to YouTube. As I get more information, I will let you all know. Redwall would be an amazing cozy setting. I don't know what Redwall is.
Yeah. So Redwall is it's a series of kids. They're teen books, like young adult.
Okay.
They start coming out when we were kids. But it's set in a world where everything is every creature is a talking animal. The books themselves are not cozy. Like the stakes in the books are pretty high stakes, but the setting does lend itself very, very well to a cozy campaign. I 100% agree. Also, Nick, for you as an adult, I do recommend reading the Redwall books. I think you will get a kick out of them.
Reading books. How dare. Just kidding.
I mean, listening to books, because we both, that's how we consume books, but it is still reading as far as I'm concerned. So, but yeah, no, I agree. I think Redwall would be a great setting for a cozy campaign, 100%.
I've been wanting to play a heist game using Jenga pieces rather than dice. You should go and check out on our YouTube. We have the old videos of the Mechanical Corners, and you should check it out. It's a fun RPG, fun silly RPG, including guys. If you're a fan of authors and shit, we were talking about books. One of the games was me, Mark, who designed the RPG, and then a bunch of D&D and Pathfinder authors. Ed Greenwood, Eric Scott to be, and Chris Jackson were all role playing together, and it was fun and silly. But yeah, we've had a handful of them, and I'll reach out to Mark and have another heist game where everybody plays you're either foodstuffs, so you're a food item, or you're an animal, or you're a mechanical, like a machine, like a robot type thing. They call them minions. A minion. So all the minions are like robots, but then they still have the head of whatever. So like you are Mr. Cheese, and Mr. Cheese, what is he? He's, a cheese, and his best friend is his daughter is Bree, whatever. And I played a
That's funny.
character called
that.
Highball. My character was Highball, and Highball was a minion, and his head was technically a lowball glass with whatever, and I could use my alcohol head for whatever. So I think
That's
one person was
hilarious.
like
I love
one character was a flock of hummingbirds. Like they were a flock of hummingbirds that all gathered together, and they could send off the hummingbirds as spies and stuff like that. And Ed Greenwood played Agent Orange. He was an orange, but he was a spy who was in disguise. So as soon as he took his peel off, he was someone else, and so he was like a spy. One of the NPCs
That
is
very
Mr.
Ed Greenwood.
Beans, and he can't keep secrets
Because you keep spilling the
because
beans.
he keeps spilling. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's just it's filled with puns, really laid back, and it's kind of like a heist story. So definitely go and check that out. It's made by Fight in a Box Games. So one of my favorite newer RPGs, indie RPGs, and I keep telling them they need to publish the book. So yeah, it's a great pun game. Go and check it out. With that being said, guys, it's break time. So it's time for us
Hey,
to take a break. And when we get back, I will have Adam re-explain why he is wearing the mask for our Raiders. And to anybody new who came in, we'll explain that as well. So please stick around for part 2. We're going to talk about how do you write a good Superman story and why Adam's not the one to write it. And of course, the one and only famous topic that we like to call potluck. So get your comments ready and come back with us and chat with us in just a little bit. We'll see you in a bit. And we are back. Thank you guys for sticking around through the break and through the ad break. I appreciate all of you for being here for that. Again, hanging out for the ads definitely helps me do this, full time and kind of try and be able to pay the bills. So I appreciate you guys being here. If you've been having a good time, please make sure to hit that follow button so you can find future shows, future events, future things like that. Please, I do appreciate that number. And also, if you guys don't know, I do a very special thing where we, my good friend Matt got me this beautiful Florida Canna 18-year rum that he got me for my birthday. It's an 18-year, so every 18 followers, I get to have a drink of that. So if you go ahead and follow, you get me
Ooh.
closer to my next goal of that, which I'm only 4 away. So if all the new people that have come in today and said something and it said, hey, this is a new conversation piece. If every single one of you clicks that follow button, then I'll be able to have a drink today. So make sure to click that follow button, guys. Thank you so much. And I got all kinds of stuff. I do stuff Monday through Friday, every day of the week. So thank you so much for being here. Of course, Adam and I have been friends for a very long time, so he's on here quite a bit. And of course, once he gets back to streaming on Twitch again, I will probably be over there and either chatting or in a stream or doing stuff over there as well. So I know I can pretty much always count on him, and he can always count on me to participate and help out with each other's streams. So with that being said, welcome back to Off the Pod with the Blind GM. We talked about a couple of conversations earlier today. We talked about handling toxicity in the nerd spaces. We talked about cozy RPG campaigns. They kind of explained what they are and why they're neat.
Why they're neat.
And many of you, if you didn't catch it earlier on and you're like, hey, why is the Blind GM wearing a mask? Well, I'm going to have him explain to you why he is wearing a mask. Go for it.
So what happened was, shenanigans happened, and my beard is gone. There is no beard under here. On top of that, we are also trying to send a good friend of mine to Gen Con this year. Somebody who's never been, she really wants to go. And so we're doing an Indiegogo, I can say words, fundraiser to do that. And if we fund this Indiegogo fundraiser, I will do a full face reveal of my beardless face. There are less than 10 people that I still regularly associate with that have seen me without a beard. Nick is one of them, but that was 20 years ago. I mean, okay, no, he saw a picture of me now because I sent him a picture after I shaved and all that stuff. But like for that, he hadn't seen the beardless face in like 20 years. So this is kind of a big deal. I had a beard that was old enough to drink alcohol in the United States.
It had.
I had a beard that and had I had a beard that could serve in the military. I had a beard that if it were scotch, it would be old enough to drink itself, and I'm sure it would be delicious. I'm not going to do any more of these analogies. You know what to do. If you want to see the beardless naked face, we need to fund that GoFundMe or Indiegogo because that's what it
Indiegogo.
is actually.
There's the link in the chat. I'm also going to share it. I don't know if anybody's in any of our other locations, but I will share them on our other stream locations as well. Maybe if it lets me. So there we go. It's on
Always a
Kick,
key.
on the Kick, on the YouTube, on the Twitch. There are the links. So go and check it out, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this and participating and donating to this. Do you want to? You I don't know how much you can tell, but you want to tell us a little bit more about the person?
Yeah, she's actually in the chat. Her name is Ghost Film. Well, she goes by Ghost Film in the chat. Her name is Katie. She is legally blind like me. She is and a D&D player since elementary school. She's a TikTok creator, so you can go follow her on Ghost Film. She has her own stream here on Twitch, also under Ghost Film, and I believe most socials are the same. She's just an all-around really cool person, and we are gonna try to get her to Gen Con because a bunch of us who are going to Gen Con as it is would very much like to meet her. So that's what we're looking at.
Hey, let's check out a clip. If she has one. If she has one. Last playing Baldur's Gate.
Basically am Paulson. You know that, right?
Yes. I mean,
Oh Lord.
this is why I
I
said
made
I
this
like
clip.
flirting with you. You remember, right? That giggle.
That was so cute.
This is
I
how
knew
do.
it.
I mean, why do you think I call you Bear and not Adam?
Oh,
This was kind of
Ooh.
intentional.
The same reason the rest of us call him
Katie.
that.
Sorry.
That
It's
was
true.
bold. I
You-
loved that.
Wow, you genuinely took my words away.
Oh my God, you took my words away. Do I need to mute myself first?
There you go, guys. Go ahead and go and give Ghost Vellum a follow and follow that Indiegogo link and go help Ghost Vellum get to Gen Con. So there we go. Flirting.
So there you go.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So our next topic is one that you and I. The character of this topic is one that was bound to happen on this show and has on other. We've talked about this particular character ad nauseum multiple times, and we're gonna fucking do it again. Why? Because it's something that both of us have a lot of ties to and a lot of stuff in common with. And here's the thing, and a lot of people they adamantly hate this character. And so the question is, the topic is, how do you write a good Superman story?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure
You
this
know
is
I
something
have-
you've A, talked about, B, thought about, C, thought more about, and E, F, G has been something that just always pops in your brain pretty consistently. Now, are we talking story, like comic book story, novel story, movie story? Because those are all completely different things.
That's true.
TV
So
series
here's the
story.
thing. There have been good novels. There have been good comic book series. To date, there hasn't been, since the Christopher Reeves Superman, there hasn't been a good Superman movie. And I feel like the fandom at large would generally agree that that has been the case.
Well, people are.
Now,
Well, people
correct,
your age
people
and people
our
my
age.
age.
You're only like 2 or 3 years older than me. But yeah, anyway, so the problem with a Superman movie, so we are speaking about movies specifically here. The problem that most people have with Superman is that he's too overpowered and he's hard to relate to, which, speaking specifically of Superman, is 100% true. The trick is that in order to write a good Superman story, you can't focus on the Superman part. You have to focus on the Clark Kent part. That's the interesting part. Superman himself is so very powerful that you can build to the big epic moment that he's fighting, facing off against insurmountable odds and all of that stuff, and he's this paragon of power and strength and and goodness, but you can't start there, and that's where a lot of these movies fall very, very flat. In order to write a good Superman story, you have to write a good Clark Kent story. And if you don't write a good Clark Kent story, people are going to disengage almost immediately. And that's where we have to kind of address what makes a good Clark Kent story, right?
Right.
So let's get into it a little bit.
Well, wait. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back, because if we just sit here and get, if we just sit here and first let me start the timer. Because if we just sit there and go, okay, here's the whole thing, beginning to end, and everything we need to do, right? And then it's like, okay, now we're done. Let's take it. Let's take it slow. Let's take it like not a recent Superman movie. Let's take it slow.
Okay.
Let's build this,
Absolutely.
right? So you talk about not being relatable.
Yep.
And being overpowered.
Sure.
And you said just Superman. Superman, not Clark. Superman is unrelatable and overpowered. For me, I think you have to look at.
Let me clarify one bit there. That is the general consensus of what people have complained about Superman.
Yeah, about
Correct.
Superman in general. Another
Correct.
one that I've
This
heard
is
is
not
he
my
can't be
opinion.
killed, and I think that one is a bullshit excuse because they just want
That is
they just want to be toxic and shit on things.
Correct.
People that are like, oh, he
Anyway,
just can't
so-
die. It's like, okay, then why do you watch fucking Deadpool?
Right. Right.
Why do you watch
Exactly.
Wolverine? Why do you watch
Wolverine.
Godzilla?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway,
So, yeah.
say what you're gonna say.
So, I think unrelatable, yes and no. I think there's the unrelatable because, he's supposed to be perfect, which he's not. God, it's really hard. I'm just going to wait for you to come back before I continue my conversation.
Sorry.
You're like, talk to the paw, because Adam's not listening. No, that's okay.
Talk to
I
the
was just
paw,
like, I'm
'cause
just going to
Adam-
wait. I'm going to let you take your drink or whatever, and then I'll continue the conversation. So,
That's good. Continue.
So I don't know if he's overpowered, because I think that's a point of view sort of situation, right? Overpowered compared to what? Compared to normal people? Compared to other superheroes? Compared to other Kryptonians? Compared to how the writers write the story? Because here's the thing, ultimately, the writers are in charge of what fucking happens.
It's true.
So, like, if he's overpowered, it's because the writers made him seem overpowered. If he's unrelatable, it's because the writers, in a lesser sense, kind of made him unrelatable. Nobody always makes, I think part of the deal is, with the unrelatability, is with Superman, he inevitably always makes the right decision. That's hard to relate to because nobody is perfect. Nobody always makes the right decision. Everybody makes mistakes. And I think that was, in the end, the latest Superman movies, I guess, that happened. I think that's where I had to swallow a pill, because they had him make a mistake. He made a judgment error, and it was out of character for Superman, right? Superman would have found a way, right? You and I have said it multiple times with the Zod thing in the movie. You and I, both of our biggest gripes about that movie is, he didn't have to kill Zod. He should have been able
Yeah.
to find a way. Even Zack Snyder was like, you know, he came up with his excuses like, well, you know, sometimes you don't always get a perfect answer. Sometimes you don't always, you know, you don't get an option B. You don't get a plan B. You don't get another way out. And my thought of that, it was twofold. One, yes, you're the writer, so you can give him a plan B. You can give him an out because you're the fucking writer. You're the one writing it. That's your responsibility. But two, if everybody's biggest gripe is he's always so perfect and he never makes a bad choice, and that's what makes him relatable, then there you go. You just had the movie where he made a big mistake. He made a bad choice. He didn't, you know, in the spur of the moment, last minute detail, he might not have made the right decision. As good as he is and as good as he wants to be, he was still a flawed character. Superman, not Clark Kent.
Right.
So, but you know, so okay, where do you balance that then? Was that the right call? A lot of people didn't like that. The people like you and me didn't like that. But at the same time, it's like, I agree. It's hard to relate to someone who is perfect, except for I still want that person that's perfect. And the reason that I want that perfect person that's perfect is because I need someone to be that higher standard that I can look up to and be like, I want to be like that person. I want to be, you know, I want to make the right decision like Superman makes the right decision. I need to be inspired to be something better.
Let's contextualize this a little bit.
Yes.
Let's say this movie, we're talking about Man of Steel, of course, the one with Henry Cavill. I love Henry Cavill as Superman.
I do
Clark
too.
Kent. Like, he was so good. I just didn't like the movie, and it was choices that the writers made and that Zack Snyder made.
I just
That's it.
didn't like that one decision. Everything else I liked.
That one very specific decision.
That
I
one
agree.
very specific
So here's the
decision.
thing. Juxtaposing, because the part of what makes Superman, you know, he always makes the right decision. But it doesn't mean that as Clark Kent, he doesn't agonize over what the right decision is.
Right.
And we don't get to see that in any of the movies. Any of the movies whatsoever. And if we had seen Superman, like, because again, Man of Steel is early in his career, he might have made that mistake.
Right.
And if we had seen Clark Kent go through an agonizing process of dealing with the fact that he full on murdered a guy, fully made a choice to kill somebody and agonize over it, and that was the inciting incident to why he never is willing to make that mistake ever again, that would have made that decision so much more impactful than, oh God, I don't know what else to do. And that would have made, for me, that would have made that movie so much better. I wouldn't have loved that he killed Zod, but the consequences, the emotional toll that it would have then taken on Clark Kent and all of his relationships as a result would have been for me, a far more interesting movie. This is fucking killing me over here. Far more interesting movie than how it ended and where it ended.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about here with I don't want another Superman movie. I want a Clark Kent movie.
I want a Superman movie that gives Clark Kent more time. I don't want to see. I don't want to just see. Here is Clark Kent growing up, the kid, you know, Martha, and before he becomes Superman, growing up, you know, we get his origin story. Yeah, he crashed on a ship, and the two farm people, he grew up on a farm, and they were really awesome, and you know, heart of the United States, and you know, farm boy, and do right and wrong, and whatever, and you know, truth, justice, and you know, the good way, because I'm, you know, so yes, but then there's a point where it's like, okay, now he's Superman. And then he puts on this facade of Clark Kent, because it's not the actual, you know, the glasses, newspaper, bumbling buffoon. That's still not Clark Kent. That's the portrayal of Clark Kent. You know, there's the farm boy Clark Kent, and then there's the newspaper Clark Kent that's a cover up for Superman. So there really is 3 characters, really, when you look at it.
Agree.
And I want
So
to
to
see I want to see him becoming the newsroom, becoming that Clark Kent, and seeing the shift. We got to see a little bit of it with Christopher Reeves, and I think that's what made it good. You could tell the difference. If you didn't know, you didn't know that it was necessarily the same person. You could have that split moment where Lois Lane shoots Clark Kent, and the second that bullet would have hit, you see the instant change from Clark Kent to Superman, just in his posture, the way he looks, the way his demeanor, everything in a split second, even though it's just acting.
Yeah. Well, and this is why Christopher Reeves is my favorite Superman, because there's a moment at the end of, I think it's the first movie, where he wants to tell Lois.
Yeah.
He's about to tell Lois. He's got the glasses. He's Clark Kent. He's got the glasses
he takes them
on.
off.
He takes them off, and his whole there was no special effects. There was nothing. His entire body language and demeanor in that moment changed from Clark to Superman. And you saw it happen in real time. Like, people always gripe about the fact that glasses wouldn't make a fucking difference in terms of, but no.
Which is
with
bullshit,
Christopher
because they
Reeves,
proved it.
They did.
They literally
They did,
took
absolutely, they did.
they took Henry Cavill during the Justice League premiere and put him in downtown in Times Square with there were 4 or 5 posters and trailers in Times Square, and they freaking
Yep.
they were all him as Superman, and they put Henry Cavill there dressed as Clark Kent, walking around talking to people, and nobody even realized it was him.
Nope. Nobody had any kind of, none of it whatsoever. So we saw that happen in real time, where Christopher Reeves went from Clark Kent to Superman. And this is the reason why, I totally believe that somebody could get away with just wearing a pair of glasses and that's it.
And then
I
when they
totally
turn around, he
believe that.
snaps back and it instantly, he's like,
Yeah, and he gets the glasses back on, and it's an instant change. It was so good. It was such great characterization, and in any of the movies and television shows that we've seen since then, I haven't seen Superman and Lois. So keeping that in mind, I hear it's very, very good. I haven't seen it. But every other characterization we've seen of Superman since that point, we haven't seen a drastic switch between Clark Kent and Superman. And that is a big deal. That is a big distinction for me, and that is what really would make a difference between an okay movie and a holy shit, this is an amazing movie. I also really feel like a lot of the storytelling that happens within these movies is coming at it from the wrong perspective. Contextually, the people that created Superman, Joel Shuster and Joe Siegel, were Jewish immigrants to New York City. And they wrote Superman with the perspective of, this is an immigrant story.
Yeah.
This is not a white kid growing up in the heartland. This is an immigrant story to a T. And I think the perspective of writing a good story with this idea that you kind of are living the American dream, but you're kind of not ever going to be fully accepted by everybody who's there and here, because of bigotry, because of racism, because of xenophobia, because of all of the things that just naturally exist within the human condition. When somebody doesn't fully understand somebody's backstory, you're never going to be fully accepted. And that's why I am Superman. I need to always make the right decision, because if I don't make the right decision, I'm going to become the monster that everybody thinks that I am.
yeah.
And one of the reasons why, a lot of people, a lot of nerds, I'm probably the biggest Superman nerd that you know.
Right.
Would you'd agree?
Yeah.
So I'm also a writer, and I'm a damn good one. I could probably write a good Superman story, but because I am not an immigrant, I am not Jewish, I'm not any of those things, I don't feel like I have the perspective, because of the privilege of my birth and all of that stuff, to write kind of story that would need to be told to make it an interesting, compelling Clark Kent, Kal-El Superman story.
Yeah.
So My request for Hollywood, not that it's ever going to fucking happen, but my request for Hollywood is that, you're going to have a team of writers. Let's face it, you're going to have a team of writers. Don't consult a bunch of just white dudes from the United States, please.
Right.
Let's actually diversify that. Let's diversify that writer's room. Let's make it an immigrant story. Let's make it what it really ought to be, what it was initially. Because then you're going to get a perspective that has not been seen in the superhero space since the 40s. You're going to get a perspective that is so much more interesting and so much more compelling than white guy makes good. And I think it would make so much more of a better, interesting, and involved and fully characterized individual, even in a movie format, that would make a great Superman movie.
I want to push back a little bit, just a little bit, because
Go
yes,
for it.
when they designed the character, it was very much an immigrant story, but that was before comic books. That was comic strips. That was so long ago that I think he's evolved beyond that. Because again, he when you look at the character, the modern character, even Christopher Reeve, like Christopher Reeve movie wasn't really an immigrant story. Yes, he was an alien, but he doesn't remember any of that. As far as he was concerned, all of his memories come from he was born here. He grew up here. He lived here. He never had that feeling of I'm an immigrant, but he did have the feeling of the fish out of water. The I don't belong here. I am different than everybody else. How do I fit in? Which is similar, but I don't think it's the same story. You see where I'm getting at? Because he's like, he himself doesn't even consider himself an immigrant. He himself goes, I'm American. Like, I grew up here. I grew up in Kansas. I lived here. Like, he has no memories of that. So, like, yes, people who, if you were adopted as an infant and brought over from another country and raised here from 1 year old by an American family, and you looked American, you talked American, your accent was American, you don't have any memory from that. Are you really, like, yes, technically you're an immigrant, but there's nothing to tell the story that you are.
So maybe we're talking less about an immigrant story and more about an adoption story.
Yeah. Which would have a lot. That would make a lot
of the same earmarks.
A lot of the same earmarks, but it would also make things. There are so many more people that would find that relatable, and you could fit that into the story. Because I, as a person, well, you know this. Like, I had a mom growing up and I had a stepdad growing up. My real father died before I was born. The struggle of knowing who the hell am I for reals is a struggle. Who am I? Where do I come from? And then you add the fact that you have some sort of abilities that makes your life difficult because, I can't go play for the football team. I can't do this. The government will come and freaking kidnap me if they find out. And then stressing, why am I like this? Why is this the thing? Make it a mental struggle. And yeah, I know, I think it was Scribbler said earlier, dealing with the consequences of bad choices and seeing how that weighs on your shoulders, I think is a big deal. But yeah, I think the fish out of water and being adopted and not belonging,
I mean, we could even take this a little. We could take that one step further, and like I agree, but I agree, and I'm willing to I still think the immigrant story would be interesting. I think the adoption story would be equally interesting. We could also, factor in a lot of themes of found and chosen family versus blood, right? Like a lot of those themes would factor in there as well. I feel. It's he and you, because we've known each other for over 20 years at this point. I've seen you struggle with a lot of these notions of self and who you are and all of that stuff. And so he is also kind of going through a lot of this stuff. And what's more important? Is blood more important, or is the people that you choose to spend your time with and your sort of cosmic family? And yes, but also no. And it's really kind of finding that middle ground between what is emotionally right for you but also knowing the ties that brought you to this point in the first place is also equally relevant. So I think that would be an interesting dynamic to throw in there as well. So
Yeah. And then we're not, and then
maybe
we're
I
still,
could-
and then we're just talking about him as a person, not Clark Kent, not Superman, not Kal-El, not Farm Boy Clark Kent, just him as a whole, as everything. And then you take all of that, and then you, I'm sorry, but all the things we just talked about, what's not more relatable than everything we just spoke on?
right.
Superman's
Right.
not
I mean, that's-
relatable. F that.
The only people who wouldn't relate to something like that are people who have grown up with the privilege of like they had the nuclear family, they never had like there wasn't necessarily divorce, there was not it was just outside of their experience. And if they're compassionate people, they may be able to still relate to Superman
Right.
in as much as that they've had people in their life and whatever. Anybody who doesn't relate to that, I'm sorry, is probably kind of a douchebag.
Yeah. There was a line that I liked in the Henry Cavill, the Man of Steel movie, at the very end, when they're like, "You could be a threat," and he's like, "I grew up in Kansas eating oatmeal. What's more not more American than that?" And I loved that line. That line always stuck
That's
with
a
me
great
from that
line.
movie.
Yeah, I loved that so much. Oh my God, I have a great, it's ancillary to this, but it's related to this. Henry Cavill is a football fan, American football fan, and he chose the Kansas City Chiefs to be his team, right?
Okay.
They were,
Hey.
the reason why he chose the Kansas City Chiefs, so that when he moved to LA and was doing a lot more movie work in LA, he was really getting into American football, and he realized that one of the things that he was kind of missing out on, the experience that he was missing out on, was having a team to root for, right? And he didn't want it to just be an arbitrary thing. He wanted to be related to something that he had an experience with, had a connection with. And so he chose the Kansas City Chiefs because Superman was raised in Kansas, and Clark Kent probably, if he had a football team, would have been the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's awesome.
And so Cavill is now a huge Kansas City Chiefs team, which was great for him last Super Bowl. Huge Kansas City Chiefs, stan, because he played Superman in the movies. And I'm just like, I heard that story and I'm like, that is the most wholesome fucking thing I've ever.
That's awesome. He's a great, like, everything I hear about him is like awesome.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. He seems like a great guy.
Going back to hiding who you are, they talk about people. Marilyn Monroe shifting her posture and uncovering her hair is a fantastic shift to be proven of, going from one person to the other and being able to tell if somebody is who they say they are.
Right.
And yeah, Dolly Parton lost the Dolly Parton lookalike contest to a drag queen. A drag queen won that one. So
I heard about that. That was an interesting little anecdote. I love that.
Okay, so Curly Girl says, you talk about an immigrant story, the TV series Miss Marvel. That's a great immigrant story. Like, you want to talk immigrant story?
Agreed.
That's an amazing. I love Miss Marvel.
Absolutely. Oh, it was so good.
I know a lot of toxic
It was so good.
asshats didn't like it, but I loved Miss Marvel. I also loved The Marvels, the show The Marvels, or the movie The Marvels. I really liked that movie as a whole.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
So,
If you want a good Clark Kent, a good juxtaposition between Clark Kent and Superman in storytelling, the My Adventures with Superman show that is on Max right now is an excellent, well told Superman Clark Kent story. So I
liked one of the things I liked about the old movies was showing, like, when Clark Kent had a date and Superman had a date, but it was a double date and he didn't necessarily realize it.
Oh yeah.
And he had to balance that as Superman.
Yep.
I thought that was really awesome. And
fun.
I also, going back to them talking about like him struggling with decisions, just showing him, having to waffle back and forth. How many times in those movies, there were 3 of them. We don't count the 4th one. There were 3 of them. How many times did he waffle back and forth between telling Lois Lane and not telling Lois Lane?
Oh, at least 3 times per movie. At least. So we're talking 9 times in the span of the entire movie.
So yeah, constantly.
Well, and that's like the show Lois and Clark that was on in the 90s was a great example of like, this is a Clark Kent story, not a Superman story. I loved the show. It was not super well received, but I loved the show.
It was okay
And it was for
me.
It was for this reason. It was for the fact that it was a Clark Kent story, not a Superman story. I think it would have been better if Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain had any actual chemistry whatsoever, but it's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So apparently they hated each other on set. So
Yeah, it shows. I wasn't a big fan of that, but and I don't know why. I don't know if it like it just didn't have a vibe that I was looking for. I don't know if I was still like this isn't my Superman sort of thing. I don't know what it was, but there was just something about that show I didn't like. However, I do think that the Superman story is told best in a series and not a movie.
agreed.
Whether it be an animated series, which was amazing, or whether it be, you know, any of the other shows that's not Smallville.
I would adore. Yeah, agreed. I love.
I just triggered people. I just triggered people. I know I did.
I was not a huge Smallville fan. I know there was people in the chat probably screaming at us right now.
I know.
I think Scribbler's probably one of them. 'Cause I know she loves that show. Anyway, what I would love to see is sort of like
We're not throwing anyone.
experience.
We're diving under the bus on our own right here.
We're just flying under the bus on our own volition. I would love to see a multimedia experience, kind of like what they've been doing with the Marvel movies, where you have the shows and then you have movies, and they kind of like people jump back and forth between that. I would love to have a show, Superman show, kind of like what we're talking about here, where it hits all of these major beats and points, and then when big events roll up, that's the theatrical release.
That's the
And
movie.
have it be.
Then you can have.
That's the movie.
Then you can have the series that's like the Clark Kent development, and then the movie where Superman has to fight the big bad monster and destroy half the city, and then walk away like
Exactly.
nothing happened.
And so people who want to come to the movie and only don't want to invest in the TV show, they just go to the movies to see the wanton destruction. They get that. And then the people who are enjoying the character development of the show also get to see a big cinematic, you know, Superman epic moment
Yeah.
where Martha isn't the safe word.
I liked that. I'm not.
I hated it with a passion.
I liked it because I know the characters, and you know that's the only thing that would get through to Bruce.
I know. I think like if
It
it was
was
going to go that way, I think it could have been handled better.
It could have been handled better. They could have done it better, in a way that made more sense. I think the idea worked. The execution did not.
Yeah,
Scribbler said that I hated Lana, and Saltiest Unicorn says it's okay for you both to be wrong. Fair.
Yes.
It's a fair assessment. I'm
Scribbler and I have had long, protracted conversations about Smallville and how much she hated Lana, which was fair. She was kind of a wet blanket, but
so
that's neither here nor there.
So we are at the top, the potluck section of the show. So during the potluck section of the show, I wanted to ask you, and this was my original plan. Do you just want to sit around and just bullshit about no topic for a while?
Yes, Nick, I do. In point of fact,
That was my original plan, but I wasn't going to tell you until we got to it.
that was good. That was good. That's good. Do we want to explain the inside joke for the newcomers in the chat?
Sure, we can explain for the newcomers and the old people, the people who have been here, the people that were there for the inside joke,
Witnessed it.
but they don't know the reason that the inside joke was what it had become.
Why it even happened?
So
You want to do it, or you want me to?
I'll start, and then you can kind of tell me. We can like co-tell, but
Got it.
I didn't know because we were doing a game. We were scheduled to do a Mordok Chronicles tabletop RPG. I'm GM. It was me GMing the Mordok Chronicles with the blind GM. here on stream, and it was, you know, we were having a lot of fun. People were coming in and having a lot of fun. It was very chat interactive and whatnot. However, I don't know if I got back from a trip or I was doing something or I was in between where I was transitioning from full-time to part-time. There was all kinds of shit going on in my world, and my brain was just, still dealing with COVID, chest stuff, just real life was too much. Was having a really bad moment, and to the point where like I had canceled some streams. I had canceled the Mordog Chronicles. We had pushed it off. And so I was chatting with Adam and I just couldn't focus. I was having a hard time kind of focusing. And then in the last moment, I did have everything prepped for the game. I was like, all right, I am prepped, even though I didn't think I didn't spend my week doing my prep work. And Adam, you came in.
I came in with I just had a shit day. It was like, I was going to show up. I was going to show up for you because that's what we do. We show up for each other, you know, unless there's a life threatening or like one of us is in the hospital, like we show up for each other. That's what we've done for the last 20 years.
Or we ask if it's really bad. We're like, hey, are you okay with?
Yeah. Or we're not toxic about it. Like if it's bad, then we'll be like, hey, are you good if we just don't fucking do the thing? In this moment, I'd had a really shitty day. I was in a really bad headspace. I don't even remember what was going on. Like it was just a bad day. Same. And we were sitting down and we got going, and Nick was sitting here trying to run the game, and we kept going off on tangents.
Yes, we kept doing these little off the project side. We kept potlucking it.
We kept potlucking it. So Nick, at one point, we just finished with a tangent. There was that kind of natural lull in the conversation. I'm like, dude, do you just want to sit around and bullshit for the rest of the episode? And apparently this has now become a thing.
Yeah, and so now there are at least four or five people that either on stream or in chat will just every once in a while when one of us goes off on a tangent or there's a pause, especially in tabletop in a gaming situation, that gets quoted. Hey, do you just want to sit around and bullshit for a while? And I've heard it in real life too, like off stream. You know, there's a couple people that have said it. So if you guys ever come in here and you see somebody say that or you hear that, you now have the backstory. But the backstory to the backstory is neither of us were really able to focus on role playing. We weren't in a headspace to do that, and we just wanted to be two friends bullshitting and chatting and having fun with chat, and not deal with this. You know, having to. We didn't want to role play. I guess we wanted to, but we just couldn't. Yeah. We just weren't in the headspace for that.
We wanted to role play, but we didn't have the focus. Just because of events. Now, I will say that like what we then did was basically what we used to do when we were doing the side project podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that we had the chat to also interact with, and that was super cool.
I think it was very cathartic because by the end of that, we both were like, that was a lot of fun, and I needed that. Like we both said that after the show went off the air. Yeah. That was a lot of fun, and I needed that. Yeah. Goodbye, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, that's almost verbatim is how that went down. Absolutely. No, it was good.
So,
all right, rather than turn off my camera, I'm going to turn around. You keep going.
So, with that being said, guys, I want to be sure to let you guys know, mental health is important. Taking care of yourself is important. If you need to take a break, if you need support, if you need someone to talk to, find those people. Take care of yourself. The people who are there for you and support you are the people that care. If people are like, if somebody says, "Oh, you don't be such a weak ass," or you know whatever, those are the toxic people you don't need to have.
By your bootstraps.
Yeah, those are the people that are, if they repeatedly are like toughen up, then those are the people that aren't necessarily supportive, and you could probably weed out, and you won't really lose out on anything. So take care of yourselves first. Put yourselves first. If you're sick, take a day off work. Don't go in. If you're mentally unhealthy, mentally unstable, if you're having a hard time, reach out and get help, or do some self-care and do it what makes you realign yourself.
Mental health is still health and is just as important as physical health.
Yeah. And
that's a thing that I think has gotten lost over, at least the era that Nick and I grew up in. That was never.
Bottle it in, shove it deep down inside, bottle it and hold it there until you explode at family occasions, like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thank you, Ghost Vellum, for the follow. I appreciate you. It's one more. We're only 3 away
So-
from that drink. Lock it up.
Hey,
But yeah.
can I unfollow and follow? Would that count?
No, because it's a total number. It's a total number, unfortunately.
Aw, sad.
Yeah. Put your feelings in a box and crush it.
And shit.
I don't know who the stand-up
Book of
comedian
Mormon.
was, but there was a
Great
stand-up
show, by the
comedian
way.
that said that. Like, you take it and you bottle it deep down inside, and you wait for it to explode at family gatherings like Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Pretty sure that was Lewis Black.
I don't know if it was Lewis Black or not, but whoever it was, it was one of my favorite lines in stand-up comedy that will always sit
Great
with me.
line.
So
So what
it's-
do we have for potluck today?
what
What do we have for potluck?
we're
Anything, or are we just bullshitting?
that's what potluck is.
Oh yeah, I think I knew that. I'm sorry. I'm awake. Hey, how's it going?
I mean, this
Look, I
is
know
we're,
it's Monday, but it's
we're
been a
already
long week.
we're already like 8 minutes past through potluck already. That's what potluck is. Whatever we talk about, whatever people bring up, whatever, if we missed a thing on one of the previous conversations, if we went on a tangent earlier and we're like, let's go back to that tangent and finish it off.
Hey, Chad, is there anything that we glossed over in chat that you really want us to hit again? Go ahead and
but
say
I
it again.
if we ever said but I digress, we can undigress. What is the opposite of digressing? Gressing?
Regressing?
No, that's not right. That doesn't sound right.
No, that's not right. I don't think there's an opposite to digress that goes with the gress theme. I think it's just walking it back or going back into it. No, regressing actually does make sense for that particular context.
You're the wordsmith, not me.
No, that's what I'm working it out in real time here because I process verbally. When you regress, you're walking back, you're going back into the thing that you were doing before, and that's when you digress. That means you're stopping what you're saying and continuing on to something else. So if you regress, you are walking back into that thing that you were originally talking about.
So do
So
people use the
technically
word
speaking-
but I digress in a wrong manner because they say I digress to regress when they say but I digress, and then they go back to what they were saying.
I suppose when they say but I digress, it usually means they've digressed already from what they were talking about initially, so they are regressing at that point. You know what? I don't know. I'm just gonna lean into it. 'Cause
Office Space RPG, go. All right. Well, let's workshop this.
All right, let's
Okay.
workshop this a little bit. All right,
We're gonna do a
absolutely.
system.
Again,
we need a system that can allow modern stuff. Of course, I always go. My first stopping point is always Mutants and Masterminds for any system that's got to be modern because it's kind of universal. But there's no superpowers or any shit, so I don't know if that really lends itself to it.
I do feel like in this context, Call of Cthulhu probably is the way to go.
Yeah,
If I'm being honest, like just because, yeah, it's sort of like early 20th century, but like there's ways to advance it, get modern shit in there too. Again, it's that
yeah. They
single
have a
die
modern
roll.
Call of Cthulhu. They have a modern Call of Cthulhu.
That's right, they do. So like, yeah, it's that single die roll where you know pretty immediately
Okay.
whether or not you've succeeded. It's a pretty diverse system where you can do pretty much anything you want without it being super, super crunchy, which is really what you want for a more cozy style
Yeah.
campaign. So yeah, I
I
think
like
Call of Cthulhu.
And they have a lot of
Call Cthulhu
things. They have like
The
accounting.
Office.
They have like accounting, and they have like business type stuff.
Yeah,
And you could further
Call of
narrow that
Cthulhu
down.
Office Space.
You could take out some of them, right, or shift some of them, and you could you could spread it out to positions within an office type environment, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
absolutely.
yeah, because accounting, like, yeah, you got accounting, whatever, but you could be like, okay, you got finance, you've got finance might not necessarily be the same as accounting. You've got PR, you've got customer service, or whatever the different skill sets within an office could be. You could
Right.
have.
And then I think you need with characters, you're going to need something that is both you need a strength, like a pretty profound strength.
Rolanda Halo
And
says
then
you
a
could
pretty
reskin Insanity to put in more of a comedic scale.
Ooh. What's another word for tolerance for work bullshit? Because I feel like that could be replace insanity.
Yeah, that's what
It's
Rolanda
just
said.
tolerance
I.e.,
for
like
work.
when people are ready to just lose their shit, blow their lid.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Or
tolerance, whatever the word is for
Saltiest Unicorn says no. Leave it as sanity because That's what it would be.
Oh yeah, leave it as sanity. Okay, that's fair. All right, so profound strength, profound flaw.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, hold on.
So-
Wait. Let me rewind a little bit. Let's still build the
Alright.
setting, right? So we're in some sort of office setting. We should figure out what the
Sure.
office, what kind of a business everybody works in.
Do we even know what it was in Office Space? I know in The Office it was Dunder Mifflin, which did greeting cards.
No, but it doesn't even
But
have
do
to
we
be
know
like
what
an
it was in
office. It could
Office
just be like,
Space?
what kind of a company overall does everybody work for? You know, is it because
That's true.
I mean we can look at like the Muppets series where they were all like in the movie industry and it was like the Miss Piggy show
True.
and they were all like
True.
employees for that kind of thing. Which sorry guys, as weird and ridiculous as it was, I thought was a kind of a fun context, except for the Muppets being
I
adult.
loved it. It was, yeah, it was so good. I loved that. I mean, the concept was great. It could have been executed better, but I still think it was a really overall. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So kind of, I like the. 'Cause I think I don't. And in Office Space, I don't remember what kind of company it was. I don't know if they. ever
Scribbler
even
says
said.
accounting software.
Accounting software. That might be what. Honestly, that might have. Been what-
Oh
I think something.
no! Ghost Bellum said this. Make it a party company, so they all make party
a party-
supplies.
Party City, like the admin part of Party City.
That's great.
Oh, that's funny. I love that. All right, all
Alright,
right. So
This
we're
is
looking at-
software, and we're updating all the software for the Y2K. Set it in the year 2000 in 1999.
Oh my God, set it in '99. I think. Here's the thing. I think the time frame on this is actually pretty crucial, and I do think the
Yeah.
late '90s is a good place to put this. Definitely not just because Office Space came out. I think in like '99, 2000. Oh God, when did that movie come out?
I don't know. A toilet
I'm not Googling.
paper company. And here's the thing. Then we like it. Okay, it's a one shot, right? We have to keep that in mind. What is something you could only do as a one shot? Like Rolana Halo says, you're a toilet paper company during COVID.
Oh God. Office Space came out in 1999. So yeah, I think that's the vibe.
You want to do? See, I think that it should be more like, you know, the like 2010s to 2020s era. I feel where you don't have so much technology and so much crazy. I think there's still crazy world shit, but it's right before the crazy world shit, like pre-pandemic. I think era, pre-pandemic era. I think would be. Oh God, I know. If I were GMing, I would set it in like a like multi global wrestling company, but in the offices.
Well, because some of the shit that you could have to deal with could be pretty fantastic. Like, especially because like,
I like the idea of like
so
not
and
even
so-
wrestling, but like a writer's office for like a syndicated TV series.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh God.
You know, because imagine what it would be like to be like, okay, we're producing Jimmy Fallon for tomorrow.
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, working in retail. That was something I was going to mention. I totally forgot. Here's another one set in that kind of in that theme, in that feel. Clerks.
100%. Oh God, Clerks. I love that.
And I know you would agree, for obvious reasons, that other people don't know.
That's fair.
Just so you guys know.
Okay, but we're staying.
Just so you guys know, you put a backwards cap on the blind GM and you put him in a black trench coat. He is a dead ringer for Kevin Smith. If Kevin Smith had, you know, a little gray in his hair, because Kevin Smith still
For early
has
Kevin
pretty dark
Smith.
hair.
I think I'm sure he dies it. He's 10 years older than either of us. I don't know why that came out super defensive. I don't care. I just, yeah. Anyway,
and
Eastern,
it wasn't
I
meant as
do
a
have-
jab. It was a Kevin's
No,
like
I know.
like back in the day when you had darker hair, you were a dead ringer for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I frequently wore a trench coat, so the only thing I needed was a backwards cap.
You had the backwards cap. You literally went on your way to look like him. You told me that twice.
Yeah, sometimes I did. Like Silent Bob, he was a good character.
He was a good character.
At any rate, no, we're keeping
But I
this
digress.
within the Office Space milieu.
But I
think
regress
we
with my
do
digressing.
I regress with my digression. We need to keep this in the Office Space milieu. So whatever we do, we can't go full, like we can't do customer facing retail. We would have to stick with more of the admin
Yeah,
bureaucracy side of things. So as much as I would love to do, like I would love one of these days I'm going to write Empire Records, but set in a bookstore.
Salty
But
Unicorn.
that's not what we're talking about today.
You trigger us. You trigger us with your reference to the movie Waiting.
I loved that movie. It was so good.
With
We
Ryan
probably
Reynolds
worked in
and Dane
restaurants.
Cook, by the way. Ryan Reynolds and Dane Cook.
Dane
Okay,
Cook.
I'm going to completely digress, completely off track here. I've only told this in person. So in the era of Waiting, there was a movie that I wish I could have pitched before the Employee of the Month movie came out. Long before the employee, right before that movie came out and tanked Dane Cook's career, I had this genius idea for a movie. And it's a little Parent Trap, it's a little Caddyshack, it's a little Van Wilder. So what you have is these two brothers who hate each other's guts, and all they do is they pull practical jokes and pranks, sometimes to the nth degree. They are really horrible to each other, and they can't stand each other. And their father, is getting married. Soon, right? But the thing is the person that their father is getting married to, everyone hates, because like dad is kind of down to earth, kind of really funny, charming, and just has the blinders on for this like a money grubbing snake, horrible stuck up person, and he's getting married to her, and it causes the two brothers to have to unite to stop this marriage from happening. So this is the idea of my story. And the cast is portrayed, the father is portrayed by Chevy Chase. Again,
okay.
This is going to be in the, early 2000s, in the Dane Cook,
Sure.
Ryan Reynolds youth, the Van Wilder era. So Chevy Chase is the father.
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds is one of the two sons, and Dane Cook is the other of the two sons. And that is the movie.
And Sybil Shepherd is the mom. Anyway, that would be insane. That would be absolutely insane.
I think
Fun.
that in its day, it couldn't be done now. None of it wouldn't work. But
the early 2000s would have been the
in
would-
the
would
early
have been the time for
2000s,
that
in the
particular
era
movie.
of Waiting and Van Wilder, when Dane Cook was like the hottest stand-up comedian out there and was super funny, and before his brother stole all of his stuff and his career tanked. And Ryan Reynolds, would have been an awesome movie.
All right. So I was going through chat and I had an idea. WWE, you're the PR department during the rise of Monday Night Wars. Like,
Okay.
everything you are having to deal with is putting out the ridiculous fires that your talent keeps starting.
That could be fun. And I think it would be dependent, because do you actually have it be WWE, and do you actually reference the actual shit that happens? Like, do you go back and watch like 3 Raws in a row and be like, okay, these are all the things that would be great for a game for storytelling, and use that as source material for the game? Or do you just say it's in that vein, you're working for WWX, or XXW, and there's this rival promotion, and it's during this point, this the late 90s, this revolution of teen angst and childlike humor.
If it were me, I would fictionalize it. But I would draw inspiration. For example, I love the notion of, all right, guys, we need to spin 3 of the talent stole a tank, and we're driving it around the rival arena with a bullhorn yelling profanities. We need to make this sound good.
One of the characters, here's the thing, I think one of the characters needs to be somebody who's on the writing team.
Yes.
But like, either just doesn't give a shit, or is intentionally like gaslighting the PR department. Like, their whole thing is like, oh, no. That, what are you talking about? The 2 samurai guys chopping off the penis of the male stripper character? We didn't do that.
Yeah.
Or they just don't know. They're on the writing team, but they don't get they're like, yeah, well, this is the script I had, guys. This isn't what, I don't know where that came from. There needs to be one HR person as an NPC.
Yeah. Yep.
Or the person who's on the writing team was explicitly told by the owner of the company that they're just there to not make excuses, like their job is to not help PR in whatever way, shape, or form. Your job is to undermine our PR so that we can do more shit for ratings.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it has legs.
I think only wrestling fans would want to watch that show, though.
That's probably true.
Would want to watch that RPG.
See, and I'm not sure. Here's the thing. I think if everybody at the table, if all the players were at the table, with the exception of maybe one, didn't watch wrestling and had 0 context for the crazy that would happen, I think it would be an engaging and interesting thing to watch, as people are like, wait, they did what?
So yeah, have the role players be non-wrestling fans or fans that don't really watch wrestling.
Exactly. And so they're sitting here as a PR team, maybe a third-party PR team, who are now been hired to try to spin the crazy that is happening. And every one of the players has 0 context for what the fuck is happening right now, and goes into this with this idea that it's going to be this Office Space game. And then they have to deal with the ridiculata that came out of the fucking DX era. Oh my God, that would be hilarious to watch. Because again, that tank thing more or less happened.
It would be great. It would be great if one of the characters, one of the players had that person, that personality. But we talk about major flaws or major things that make that character stand out. Have one of the characters, no matter what you do, consistently thinks that the shit is real, and have that be the PR person. Have that be the main PR person who's trying to do this spin, but they think it's real.
They came from politics where they're used to ridiculous shit, but not on this level.
They just think they think it's a real show, like a reality show, because it's it's like Real World, guys. It's like Real World, but the shit really happened. So but they don't realize that the wrestling is fake. So you switch it. It's like the same, wrestling is put off kind of the feel of the 70s, and 80s were like people know it's fake, but there are a lot of people that are like, no, it's real, and they'll defend it with their life. And this is one of those
Right.
person, but they work for the company. That could be one of the flaws.
That's so
Like
funny.
maybe they do follow, maybe the character does follow the stuff, but they think it's real, and they're
I
like,
think it's all real.
they're watching the thing and like, all right, so so what happened on the show last night? Well, I didn't know it was medically possible, but this elderly lady who's got to be 90
Oh, God.
just birthed a child, and the child was just a hand.
I knew where you were going with it as soon as you sound elderly lady.
All right.
Okay, that's fine. Fine.
Chat says nobody's with us on this. They're all continuing to talk about other stuff. So just to prove my point that the wrestling thing I think is going to die. So
enough.
as much as fun as you and I would have, and we could probably still do it, but we should just do it with people who like wrestling. And we can
Fair
do
enough.
it, and we can do it off stream. Ghost Film says the PR team all lied on the resumes, and that's how they got the job. The foibles of corporate America. Hold on, I'm gonna go back. There's been a lot of stuff. Lose one sanity for every 10 minutes you're there for working overtime. Struggling with health and safety. I guess they say there's definitely an appeal for it because of the crazy. So maybe the wrestling could work. Some of the ones that actually like supported the wrestling theme, I didn't see because stuff was going by while we were talking. Escape from New York style game, but set in a corporate headquarters. I don't really know.
Yeah, if we do the wrestling thing, it would have to be played completely 100% straight. Like, I'm over here giggling my fucking head off over here, but like the delivery of like the problem that needs to be solved needs to be delivered in a very like deadpan. Right. So last night's show, it seems that several of our talents, you know, broke into the opposing company's arena, stole a large piece of equipment, and then we're going around pretending it was a giant phallus. We need to spin this so that the news doesn't go crazy with you.
So, guys, the owner of the company had apparently decided last night that they were going to have a live sex show in a arena filled with 20,000 people, and the front row was with the Boys and Girls Club of America.
Whenever we're walking away from this one, guys, what do you got?
Or an OSHA
May
team
God have
reviewing
mercy
the
on our
safety
soul.
of fantasy settings.
Oh my God. Oh, man. Oh, that would be great. I love that.
Oh no, were they in the splash zone? The splash zone. Not to be
Oh,
confused
man.
with the bone zone, guys. Completely different play. Supernatural Rider, you still here?
Completely.
Gnomish inventions getting restricted. All right, so yeah, a lot of fun thoughts on an Office Space cozy RPG.
Yeah, I think we have. I've got places to start. I'll start developing and see what happens.
I do
It may
like,
not go anywhere. It may go somewhere.
they did have a WWE RPG.
Yeah, I remember we played it. It was Know Your Role.
It was. My problem with that is you never knew where the line was between playing in, like, are you playing in character or are you the wrestler? And you're like,
Right.
once you get backstage, you're like chatting with the boys and whatever, or is it all like in character what you see? That was my problem with that game, is I never really knew, and combat was all like in the ring combat.
Yeah. True.
So, all right. Well, potluck was over probably 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, probably closer to 10, but still.
Adam, tell us where people can find you, where they see you, what you got coming up, any projects, items, things like that you have. Promote your
The
shit,
Indiegogo.
yo.
Go check out the Indiegogo for Ghost Film. There's links to it all over my socials. I'm sure Nick will drop one in the chat.
Oh, I've dropped
You
it
can
like 6
find
times. There it
me-
is right there.
Sounds good. You can find me anywhere there's social media to be had other than the Twitter formerly, or the X formerly known as Twitter, because that is a shit show that I have no desire to deal with. You can find me as the Blind GM. I do not do much with Twitch these days, but I've been doing a lot on my YouTube channel, so go check that out. That is also the Blind GM. I've got some projects cooking. Couple things that haven't hit the light of day quite yet, but we're getting there. I am dropping my my actual cozy campaign is all on YouTube, minus the last 2 episodes, which should be dropping. The next one will drop the first Saturday of June, and the final one will drop on the first Saturday of July. So keep an eye out for those. It's a fun story. Had a great time. It is edited for the fact that several of the people involved have small children that tended to burst onto the scene without announcement. So we edited it down so their identities could remain anonymous. And we have a fun editor who likes to throw in the occasional joke and visual joke and jab. So it's been a lot of fun there. That's it for me.
Awesome. So go check out all those things, all the social medias, all of the stuff. There's the Indiegogo for that, and I'm sure Adam will be back here at some time in the future because, I mean, why not?
I can't stay away.
If you want more of the Blind GM, you just gotta let us know. Post it in the Discords, post it in the social media, post it on the everywheres, all of the places. Guys, I will be back tomorrow. We've got more codes. If you've been playing or watching me play not only Once Human, amazing game. It's in the beta test. I've got more codes for you guys. So if you want to play Once Human, I've got beta codes. I'll be giving them away tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. So Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I will be giving them away while I am playing Once Human this week. Wednesday, we've got our Pathfinder First Edition game, our Stolen Souls campaign, run by Matt, and it's got a whole crew of amazing role players. That's going to be happening on Wednesday. And of course, next week on Monday, we have the actual official podcast, because this is off the pod, but that's on the pod. The Epic Realms podcast. We're going to be joined by Austin Grossman, who is... Did I say that right? Yeah. Just checking I'm saying the right person. Austin Grossman is going to be joining us. He is a video game designer, and he's also an author. Adam is looking up. His eyes are rolling up like, why does that sound familiar? You might have heard of a book called Soon I Will Become Invincible. He is the author.
Yes, I thought that was him.
He is the author of Soon I Will Become Invincible. He's also a game designer, writing games like Deus Ex and Dishonored. So if you've played any of those games, those are his games. He designed those games. So he's going to be joining us next week on Monday. It's going to be awesome. We've got all kinds of people coming up on the podcast, guys. So you definitely want to stick around, stay tuned for that. More in the works as well. So yeah, lots of cool shit going on. And yeah, with that being said, we are done just sitting around and bullshitting for a while. So definitely stick around. I think next week the Curse of the Crimson Throne, aka the Claimer's Conquest, which is its new title, will be back next week on Thursday. So come and join us for that. All kinds of stuff. If you don't know, to hang out in our Discords and everything. So I want to feel free to go ahead and follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of the things. If you want to listen to any episodes of the podcast, we have so many. Our 75th episode was with the one and only Ed Greenwood. We have so many episodes in the past there to go and check out. Anything nerdy. If you are a nerd, go and check out our R.A. Salvatore episode, our Victor Bavine. If you like audiobooks, we've had Luke Daniels and Ray Porter. By the way, speaking of Superman, Ray Porter, the voice of Darkseid from Zack Snyder's Justice League, had him on the show. Paranormal investigators and TV show host Dave Schrader, Tim Dennis, wrestlers such as Wild Bill Irwin and the Beer City Bruiser. just all kinds of guests we've had on the podcast. Go back, check them all out. Listen, even if you don't know who the guest is, go and listen to them because you're going to learn some fun shit. But yeah, that's that. How you doing? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm ready to take this mask off, so let's go.
Let's take this mask off, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Again, go ahead and click the follow button. And if you haven't already, I appreciate you guys all being here. We're going to go and we're going to read. We're going to read on out. Where are we going to go? Where do we go from here? We're going to read on out to our friend Miso Thorny. Miso is one half of the Thick and Spooky Ghouls Paranormal Podcast Show. They are playing with a bunch of friends: Vulgar Face, Bridger's Bear, Bishop's Kitchen, Melty Corvix. They're the Black Collar Collective. They do fundraiser charities. I was part of their big charity for the AIM Youth Mental Health thing. So we're going to go and raid Miso Thorny. They are playing Project Zomboid in a great big group. So stick around and join us on the raid. Use my raid emotes, your raid emotes, use Blind GM's raid emotes. I don't care. Say hello. Use your text, and we will see you tomorrow at noon Central Time for some Once Human. Take care, guys, and good night.